Alright, now we're on. Hello. Oh, it didn't grab the there we go. Hello, Amazil, welcome back.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. What's up?
Not much. We're out here to learn more about how Abby's character was assassinated. You know, it's funny. Someone whose name I think is Random Tonio, I can't really read it because I have streamer mode enabled, said, "How was Abby's character assassinated?" I said, "Just watch the stream and you'll find out." It'll take a little while to explain, but it basically involves every single thing to do with the character.
To put it into to break it down, I guess I'd just summarize it as he got pigeonholed into being a stereotype, or he got typecasted, hit it really hard into one conflict instead of, you know, uh, doing the trademark complex dude. He's not all bad thing.
All right. So we're on page 65 out of 178, or 62 out of 178. I don't know why it keeps changing. No idea why that is. But we left off, we had just started talking about... What was this trying to say? Oh, right. They're pointing out the issues of why wouldn't Daisy just be honest about going to the convention? And it's like, well, why would she worry about Abby thinking that she was a big nerd when both of them are big nerds? But like, that's like the classic misunderstanding. Like, isn't it the most dramatic thing that could happen though? Like, it's the characters not making sense is where the drama comes from, right? I'm not saying it's right to write the character like that. It doesn't make sense, and you do have to stretch things a little bit. And even when I first read it, I was kind of like, huh? Why wouldn't she say that? But, you know, I don't make the story. You know,
it's just a cliche.
Yeah, it's a cliche.
Yeah.
And I think their issue with it, I think they wouldn't have an issue with it if it didn't lead to Abby choking Paulo out in the bathroom. I think a lot of the I think with like a lot of things, when nerds get upset about something, is that they nitpick everything around that one thing. Like, everything they would have otherwise not cared about or not seen as an issue is now an issue because this one thing I don't like. And because this one thing happened, it's because of all these other things that happened.
Well, that's one way to put it, but the other thing is, like, it's the classic BCB reader fucking trap. That thing that comes out of nowhere, comes out of fucking nowhere, and you're left, as the reader, you're just left to be like, why did this happen? Well, let's figure this out. And so you have to, and if you wanted to look at it from the character's perspective, you're like, okay, this, that, and the other. But on the other hand, there's also this trope that happened that that even in character, the reasoning for it doesn't fully make sense. And it still feels like a trope. And tropes aren't in themselves a bad thing, but it does feel like, but it does, especially when it's done in this sort of way, it can seem as either lazy or even forced. And that's one of the biggest problems with BCB, in my opinion, is that a lot of times these tropes and shorthands, or there's weird situations come up because you basically have characters almost forced into the situation that for no other reason but to set up the bigger thing. For instance, a great example of this would be, I forget which one it was, but I'm gonna have to go looking at the archive, but it's the one that's right after the nightmare chapter. Well, not the current nightmare chapter, but the one before.
Oh, you're talking about God, it's Escape Route? Is that one?
Yeah, but the one after that. Here it is. It's all in the mind. Like, it's all in the mind. Like, that one, it's all set up. Like, the whole situation, it was all just a setup. Like, why? Like, okay, like, Lucy is in judo class with Mike, so that he can be there and to follow her, and then Lucy randomly randomly bumps into Sue, and they start talking about nothing, but it's not lingered on at all, so that we can just move on to revealing that Mike's there in this scene now, and then Daisy's in that scene for no good reason, so we're gonna lampshade that. Ha ha, isn't that weird? Ha ha. And now all our characters are here. Hey, Lucy. Reveals that, hey, Augustus is staying with me. Let's not talk about that. We're moving on. Like, why did any of that happen? And you and but that's sort of what I'm thinking of, like when with trying to with as a reader, when you read that, you're trying to figure out, like, okay, wow, that was a weird bombshell. Why did she say that? And from a character standpoint, it's like, oh well, Daisy was doing this, and they were talking about this, and Lucy doesn't want to talk about that. But from a narrative standpoint, you you take a step back, which as a reader you kind of have to on some of these things, because because the character, like, because the answer for why it's happening characteristically, like why the characters are doing this, almost makes sense, but it's not very solid. And so you're still wondering, like, that still doesn't feel right. That still feels weird. What else is this? Why else did. Okay, that's why these characters did it, but why is this character in there? Why is. For like it's all in the mind. Why is Sue there? Why did Sue need to be there? Why did Daisy need to be there? Why did any of this have to be here? And when we boil down to it, that's when you kind of have to, again, you kind of have to go into that narrative point of view to just accept that it happened because we had to set it up. It happened because Teshie wanted to force these characters into the situation so that we can get to that bombshell, but it's not properly executed. and and that sort of, and yet it's all in the mind is just like one example of it, and probably the most like egregious one. But in terms of guest of honor, I can see why the trope of Daisy being like, oh, I didn't want to tell Abby because I'm nervous, kind of feels like it's a more or it's a bigger problem to the character than than it probably should, or than Teshi would have wanted it to be. Because again, it's forcing one problem to create another, and what is that for? And so it highlights what that initial problem was to set up this whole thing.
Yeah, no,
And
I get that. I could make the argument that It's All in the Mind takes place after this chapter.
well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, as an example um, of readers having to dig deeper into and kind of have to nitpick scenes in order to find a good reason, or some sort of satisfying reason for the actions of the scene.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could also raise the counter argument. So there's the famous Stan Lee quote. He talked about how people always ask him who would win in a fight, and his answer is, well, shortened down, is whoever wins is whoever he decides to win, right? Which essentially means
Yeah.
whatever's gonna happen is I decide what happens. So the reason that Abby and Daisy try to hide their nerd shit, it's like, what happened? Because Teshi decided that's what she wanted to happen. Um, but I understand what you're saying though, where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's plot contrivances to make the drama happen. And once again, the Teshi's quote of, it happened because it's the most dramatic thing that could happen, is causing issues with the story. You can't let it guide everything that you do. Like, you can let having the most dramatic thing that could happen is good in certain circumstances, if it is properly led up to, but you can't let every story decision do that, because then things get messy and character motivations don't make sense. and your reader is confused about why certain things are the way they are, and because there's no sort of inner monologue, no introspection or hardly any introspection, it people are just like, okay, well, I don't understand any of these characters basically anymore. Uh, it's once again talking about date night, which is I guess my new least favorite chapter of BCB. Well, I wouldn't say that. Eternal Flame has more baggage, but having Paulo all of a sudden in the previous chapter go from I am so in love with Daisy and I don't really care all that much about James, like he was just kind of a crush, to immediately willing to race Mike in the next chapter to race Mike for James's affection with Daisy standing
Yeah.
right there. It happened because that's the most dramatic thing that could happen, right? But it doesn't make any sense because you already established that he doesn't really care that much about James and he cares a lot about Daisy. It also doesn't make sense because why didn't they drive to the theater? Why did David interfere with Mike and James even though Paulo told him to not do that? Why did they race even though Paulo and Mike clearly had no reason to race and Paulo definitely didn't want to be there? I I don't know, dude. It happened because Teshi wrote it to happen. She wanted it to happen, and
And that sounds really lame. I'm glad I haven't read that chapter.
I made a video about it. But I
They
mean,
actually
so there you
raced.
go. Like, I guess in that, I mean, it's her story to tell, right? It's not for us to tell her story or tell her how to tell her own story. But there are also objective things that can be fixed that could make the story better. Maybe even in some cases you can have your cake and eat it too, but you can't do that all the time, which is what making the most dramatic thing happen every time is an issue with. But so that's all
What?
for that section of why wouldn't Daisy and Abby just be honest, right? Uh
Yes.
yeah. Please pardon the later example, but Daisy is shown to not be stopped by them being busy or having plans to suggest stuff for them to do, so that potential argument is out. Furthermore, we see Abby at this convention, so we also know Abby is lying. Again, why? There is no possible way you can convince me in the year plus that they've been dating that they never shared with each other any interest outside of school. I can believe Daisy not knowing about Swordsvale because the mid-aughts pop culture looked down on RuneScape and similar MMOs. You...
What?
That isn't entirely true. Like, everyone played World of Warcraft. Don't tell me that it was like this niche thing nobody knew about. Like, even in
No.
2008, when this chapter would have taken, World of Warcraft would have been at its peak. Everyone played WoW. Celebrities played WoW. People were quitting their jobs and not going to school to play WoW. Don't tell me like an MMO would be like a niche thing. Maybe like RuneScape. You know, I know a lot of people that played RuneScape that still play RuneScape, but like, no, people,
No.
pop culture looking down on World of Warcraft? Not really.
At
Everyone
the
was
time, I
playing it.
actually no, I would say that because, well, I mean, my perspective is skewed. I lived on an island, but like from the outsider's perspective, I a lot of the jokes was that a lot of Warcraft players were nerds, and
Yeah,
like PC gaming in general was all nerd stuff, and for like, I mean, like that was when like South Park made its Warcraft World of Warcraft video or episode, and
yeah, but that
yeah,
episode
that
was in
swab was everyone.
reverence of the medium.
Yeah, but it's still but they that was still like, at least on a broader level, what a lot of people believed that to be. Like when the people heard about, oh, this guy fucking left his job and would play World of Warcraft for 36 hours straight.
It
Like they thought they would think of that fat schlubby guy who's living in their basement.
it's still a
That's it.
stretch that Daisy would not know about Swordsvale though. It's
I
like
guess, but she that doesn't. I don't. Does she even say that she? It's maybe it's not even that she doesn't know the game, but that
she
she
didn't
at
know Abby
least
liked it.
doesn't know that Abby's playing it.
Uh, Let me turn
Because
the
I don't
live up
think that
actually.
she ever really says that she doesn't know the game. Maybe
I don't know. It's
maybe
still
she
a bit
just
of a
never played it,
stretch.
but
But I mean, when has Abby really been that concerned about like Daisy judging him? Like I can get Daisy being nervous about because she has insecurities, right, about this sort of thing. But
mm,
Abby doesn't have that, so why would he be anxious about it? You think he'd just be like matter of fact, like, hey, you think he'd try to get Daisy to play it with them, if anything, especially since Mike and Stacy and Sue play it, and
well,
Amaya, and it's like,
I mean that's all. That was one of the things that's like I mentioned it before of how guest of honor made me want to like fix Abby, so to speak, but golden hour was where I wanted to kill Abby, and that's a that's a good point of, and there's a very specific reason for that, and it's exactly why you can't say that, why you can have, why there is now a kind of excuse for why Abby didn't reveal that to Daisy, because the one thing, and I hope that they get into this later in this, but for me that, because to me that was the bigger character assassination for Abby, was golden hour, because in there when they had they inserted all these flashbacks to show that, oh, Abby and Daisy were actually not in a very good relationship, and Abby was holding stuff together, because they're flashbacks and they don't have any specific frame of reference where we can pinpoint, okay, this happened here, this happened there, this happened here. That means it could have happened anywhere, and so, well, and especially before Guest of Honor, because I guess that probably came out like those flashbacks probably would have happened before that, but because now you can look at, because of um, Golden Hour, you can be like, oh, Abby didn't tell Daisy because he hasn't been telling her anything for a long time. And he's probably been hiding all this stuff and keeping it bottled up, just like everything else. Although we never, but but we wouldn't fucking believe that. You wouldn't know, you wouldn't think that from Guest of Honor, because none of that shit was before that. The closest that we got was Happy Hour and Abby being a little piss baby, in which it came across that like Abby just didn't want to be in a relationship solely because of Daisy's confession, and that's, but now, oh no, there's more reasons that this was supposed to happen this whole time, and blah blah blah. You should have seen this, even though there's no way you could have seen this. But
yeah, I mean
yeah,
that's a whole other conversation about Tesha using flashbacks to kind of retcon or recontextualize stuff to justify things that she wants to write about now.
mm,
She had to basically make Paulo seem meaner to justify the chokehold thing. Uh,
yeah, I guess, yeah.
let's see, But Daisy not knowing about a book series Abby reads, Abby not knowing about movies Daisy likes, that is utterly ridiculous. We do know that Daisy does take others' opinions to light more than her peers and doesn't like to be seen as lame. That is true to her character, but being too nervous in the end to ask her own nerdy ass boyfriend and subject herself to the laughter of Paulo instead, it's weird. Remember this? I mean, like, here's the. I think I actually took this as Daisy just being more comfortable. Well, no, she doesn't even go to Paulo
Wait, where
first.
is
She goes to
this?
Rachel. It should be page 50. I'm actually on the copy of the character assassination. I can send that to you.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at I only have the Google Doc, so I may be off.
Here, I'll just send this in the VC. Um, but I always took it at even though she goes to Rachel first for some reason, that she's just more comfortable with Paulo than she, like about her personal things than she is with Abby, which is like more of a sign that the relationship wasn't working. Cause like I guess it's like a fun cutesy you know oh wow you're into this too kind of relationship trope thing, but it's not really, it doesn't lead into anything. So it does seem like it's one of those, Abby isn't, or Daisy isn't really fully comfortable with Abby, and so that's one of the reasons why the relationship failed, basically. And like the other big reason is that she just kept being a simp for Paulo and just kind of looked the other way, except for the one time where she didn't look the other way, and then Paulo got really fucking weird about it, which is what the new intermission is kind of about. So we'll see what happens there.
I wouldn't say that she was necessarily being a simp about Paolo, especially like before. I mean, the whole thing about I think the way that I always viewed the dynamic, I said it before, like their dynamic and chemistry works best as like a siblings as a semi sibling relationship. Like Paolo being like the older brother to Daisy being like the young innocent little sister, and in that regard, like I think that it's like Daisy has spent so much time with Paolo, like she's able to understand or at least kind of look beyond like his shortcomings and all the weird like stupid stuff that he does because she understands like he is who he is. Is and it is simply
Hmm?
never mind. No, I thought I heard something. But but yeah, I don't know. I Update takes off Brandon's turn to light more than her peers and doesn't like to be seen as lame, but is just really bad between the Everest and anti-actors. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't find anything wrong with her being more willing to take Paolo, who- or be more open with Paolo over like some of her other friends, or even Abby. If only just because, like, again, like she's probably more because of the familiarity. Like, if we go all the way back to like the origin of Paolo, like it was Daisy or that who kind of brought him into the fold and kind of gave him a chance, even like after he started to kind of
He became a
become like
womanizing jerk, as they put it in Silver Shore.
yeah, whatever. But yeah, so I can understand it from that standpoint. I get it, and again, like Paolo's like making fun of Daisy. That's okay. That actually is your stream. There's like this weird, like it sounds like a tune.
Oh yeah,
Like
there's some background music. Don't worry.
okay, it was so fucking soft. I thought it was like maybe like someone playing something outside my house or something,
No,
or I
you're
had
good.
some like background thing going on. Anyway, but yeah, yeah, I don't have a problem with that necessarily.
The They clearly watch movies together, so they do share some of their interests with each other. That's the first thing that makes the setup for this chapter feel forced. This is when Lucy has first left the story, so the two are drowning themselves in distractions, but it is undeniable that they do share interests with each other besides school. I don't think it's far-fetched that they discuss various media that they like with each other. This is
Mhm.
this is another this is a symptom of a larger problem with BCB, where Teshi very rarely shows the characters outside of relationship drama shit. Uh,
Mhm.
so we don't really get to understand who the characters are, because they all we know is that they be kissing each other and they be liking each other. We don't know hardly anything. That's why this intermission's kind of interesting a little bit, or at least it was, because I'm like, oh, we're gonna actually get to see the group talk about Swordsvale. This would be cool. That's why the track team was a cool idea, because like, wow, we're gonna get to see a whole new thing that we haven't seen in BCB before. That has nothing to do with relationship drama, but immediately it turns into relationship drama. And I know people are like, well, that's why I'm here, but when you don't show the characters being characters and they just become drama puppets, they're not characters anymore. And when that happens, you have people going, well, I don't understand why they like each other, because it seems like they just hate each other all the goddamn time.
Yeah. And actually, this is a very good like point that I can bring up because I I don't know if anyone that's listening has um read it, but um that is actually a kind of problem that gets pointed to in False Idol. Like the last intermission for False Idol that just completed like a few months ago. Have you seen that one, Rob?
The most recent false idol.
Well, yeah, the bit where Daisy and Lucy are in the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so like I I know this is going to be a long aside, but I just have to explain this. That was more of just kind of my retcon because I did because like I said, after Golden Hour, I was like, I don't want Abby in False Idol anymore. I'm just gonna get him out there. I'm gonna get rid of him like off screen, and I didn't have a proper reason for why I would do that. I just like I don't know. There's probably like a dozen reasons, but I didn't like have anything settled, and I think like probably a few pages back. But what I realized was, and it's something that worked its way into the dialogue, which is how that usually works. Is that I had to ask, was Abby actually ever really good for Daisy? Because we never really saw him, and it's just like you said when it's all conflict and no substance. Like Abby, the problem with Abby that gets highlighted from like this drama from um, for particularly from Guest of Honor and Golden Hour is that we real the moment that we realize that you start to make conflict between these characters and say, oh, their relationship actually wasn't that great. Hey, the problem a lot it raises the question of okay, if it wasn't that great, well then what made us think it was great? What made us think that they were good for each other? And were they ever actually good for each other? And the question that or the realization that I had was that because we never got to see like these two like kind of talk, I was like, has Abby ever shown interest in Daisy's things? Has he ever been there for her? We've seen Daisy like go to Abby's. I think I may have talked about this in the last stream, but
She goes to his
yeah,
therapy.
yeah, she goes to his therapy. She fucking helped him with the election, with running for class president and stuff. She was doing her best for him, but we don't really know. We never really got to see Abby help Daisy in in her extracurricular activities. We never saw him like be at be at like cheer meets. He wasn't really there for like anything other than like studying, and that, and even like that, even in that chapter, scenic route, he's kind of negligent, and that's
Like
it could
brushing
be
her off.
yeah, it could be pointed as like oh, you know, they just rekindled their relationship and they're going, but it's to foreshadow that things aren't completely solid, whatever. But yeah, it's but yeah, it's just a problem of Abby that that wasn't a problem before, but now becomes a problem because now it's thrown now that their relationship is thrown into question. You have to ask, okay, well, what has Abby done for Daisy? And that's the problem
I'll
of
tell you
this
what he did.
character assassination.
I'll show you what he did. He defended his fair maiden from the evil clutches of Apollo.
Uh,
He did that. He at least did that for her. I'm sure she very much appreciates
yes.
it.
Nothing says bravery like sucker punching a man when he's defenseless and alone, away from the eyes of your peers who could maybe have some objection to that.
Like even Daisy was even there for him in fucking Loose Ends when they go see his mom in the cemetery.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, well, then I guess that kind of destroys my argument because it is possible to show them doing outside stuff or like caring for you. Well, not really destroy my argument, but yeah, why didn't we really? I think that that's supposed to be the argument to Abby kind of being a burden to Daisy because he feels that.
Mm,
It's not like he doesn't feel guilty about it, right? But I mean, he does kind of throw it in her face a little bit, which isn't great. But he
yeah.
definitely, in the back of his head, he's like, you know, I am a burden, and that it's a BCI. I know it's not canon, so it doesn't count,
Mm,
whatever. But it is something to note that in the BCI, mistakes will happen. That is the way that Augustus sort of manipulates Daisy into having sex with them, is because he's like, wouldn't it be nice just to have a relationship with none of the baggage? Like you're always constantly there and doing things for him. You know, you shouldn't have to keep doing that. And Daisy, she agrees. You know, she to a certain extent, she's like, yeah, I kind of wish I didn't have to keep, you know, keep that up. But it's not canon, so we can't really use it as evidence. There might be a moment or two in the canon comic where that comes up, but uh, it's definitely there, even if it's not said. You can kind of pick up on it.
I don't know.
But
I Nat's argument has always been kind of weak on my. Well, I mean, so like if it has happened, I will say that if it has happened, I probably would have known about it because I have been one of the biggest proponents for Slut Daisy being the free Daisy and stuff like that. But like the the thing about like Daisy independence, you know, doing things without Abby, like to me it's not really a strong argument because it never really seemed like that big of a deal for her. It didn't seem like that much of a hindrance. The real hindrance that Abby proposed, or although I mean like, or no, I mean sorry, let me regain my thoughts. I would have known that because that is sort of what I did in False Idol, and I often I it always comes to me whenever I do things that apparently the canon ends up doing similarly. Because in False Idol, that back to that bathroom scene, like that was the main thing about Daisy, or actually, I think it may have been in the in chapter 3 where
like the one
Daisy
in
and
the
where
hotel
they were in
room,
the yeah, where
and
they were in the
Lucy
hotel
kisses
room.
Daisy on the mouth.
Yeah, um, and one of those I think, but one, no, it wasn't the bathroom scene. Where Daisy just says like I've realized that I was doing more for him than he was to me for me, and it's sort of the so this is more just what I want from the character, so don't take it and not necessarily what is best for the character or what the character is actually like. So just take this with a grain of salt. But my theory for like how that sort of arc between the two would go would be more that Daisy wants to if Daisy wants to break up with Abby, it should be more about her wanting to take risks, wanting to be herself, be her own person, and make
Yeah, but
decisions for herself so that she
Daisy
can do it.
Daisy
Yeah.
wanted to do that, and then Lucy was like, "No, you're stupid for wanting to do that."
Well, yes, because well, no, it wasn't that she wanted. She Lucy's problem wasn't that Daisy wanted to be her own person. It was because she wanted to be with Augustus,
I mean,
and Lucy's like, "Fuck that."
he's
The
better
mo
now. She
yeah.
fixed him.
No, actually, not in. Oh, okay, in the canon, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, okay. I thought you were talking
No,
about
that
in
I
False
mean in
Idol. Like,
canon,
yeah, they
Daisy
haven't
wanted,
happened yet.
and
But
Lucy's like, "No, you don't want that, Daisy. You think you do, but you don't."
yeah. But here's the difference, though, right? And it's actually, actually, that is a great mirror to, like, what the conversation in False Idol, because in False Idol, like, yeah, Lucy doesn't want it to happen same way, but once Lucy realizes, like, oh, this isn't necessarily about Augustus. This is more about Daisy wanting to be her own person and wanting to take a chance on something, even if it'll hurt. She wants it to be her. Like, I think the verbiage I used was, "It's my mistake to make," and I like this is supposed to be the time where we make mistakes and we learn from them, but no one will let me, and that's goes back into what what potentially would be a better reason or a better way of framing Abby holding her back is that Daisy, because Abby is so protective, he's so sheltering of Daisy, this like pure light in his life. You went too far. I can know. I can recognize it by the backgrounds because each background has their own color. Her chapter 3 is the gold background, but in that one, like the best reason I could think of for why Daisy would do this and why like her being with Abby is holding her back is that he's sheltering of her, and she recognized that no one's really treated me like a person. No one's treated me like an adult, and I want to feel like an adult. I want to be able to make my own decisions. Not even Paolo will let. Even Paolo is very protective of her. Lucy's protective of her. Abby's protective of her, and she's like, I want to be a fucking kid, man. Let me do my thing. Let me be out there. Let me be risky. Let me take a chance on this one thing, even if I get hurt, because I want it to be my decision to make, you know. And if I don't take this chance, I may never get that chance, and I'll just spend my whole life wondering what could have been, which is something that Lucy completely understands more than probably anyone. And also the greatest gag, the puke gag.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Uh, where are we even at in the thing? Oh wow, we got way off. Um,
yeah. I've told you. I don't.
yeah. Uh, are you done with that tangent?
Oh yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
I was just saying like why that could work, but also, and also why like the handling of it in the canon is just uh not there.
The second thing that makes me feel this was a forced setup is over cosplay of all things. If Daisy and Abby wanted to play it safe, they could have gone to the con together, just not in cosplay. Yeah, but that's not that I guess, but that's not that wouldn't what? Yeah, but they wanted the cosplay. I that that defeats the purpose. This might have created some conflict with Abby's panel, but since Mike and Abby both end up in the audience, it probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But even then, humor me for a moment. Cosplay at a convention is dressing up in a costume for an event, which is in which wearing a costume is one both socially acceptable and be expected, right? Because Daisy and Abby have both done that together. Halloween is different from
Yeah,
from a fucking convention. Let's
yeah,
not pretend that it's the same thing. And if you want to talk about like looking down on things that are so like I would say cosplaying in 2008 or whatever, it was not nearly on the mainstream as it is now.
Yeah,
You want to
yeah,
talk about like MMOs, like how can you sit here and make the argument against MMOs and then turn around and be like, oh this is the thing I was into, so it makes sense. Uh, it's like, no, you can't do both. And Halloween and okay, dressing up for Halloween is a very different, like the intention is very different than
yeah,
a convention, right? Uh, I mean,
yeah,
it's not even like they're dressing up as anyone specific. Paulo kind of is. Paulo and Jasmine are like, it's supposed to be like a Twilight thing, right? Obviously. Well, not
yeah.
Jasmine. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to be, but
But
um,
Jasmine was meant to be like a Japanese,
yeah, but it's not
fucking
like a
racist
specific
Tashi.
character, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Except
Well,
Paulo
yeah.
is, and I guess Michael is Cthulhu. But
Mm.
Daisy's just a witch. I have no idea what the hell
It's
Abby's supposed to be. Molly's like a
uh,
Grim Reaper or
I
some,
guess he's supposed to be like a. It almost looks like a train conductor hat. It
or
looks
like
like a
a
chauffeur or
constable,
something.
or like a pilgrim. I can't tell what this is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Uh,
Although that just reminded me, I just realized that yeah, Daisy just wears the same. That's the same one that she used in Witch Hunt.
I mean, if it
So
works, it works.
I guess. Yeah.
Daisy and Abby dressed up in costume during Halloween and met up with the rest of the cast by chance as they were trick-or-treating with Abby's sister Molly. But PC, you say, this is Halloween, it's different. Yes, I do
Yeah.
actually. Is it though? Okay, it is, and even so, Daisy was fine dressing up as a witch, and Abby was as, like, I don't know, a fucking train conductor, a security guard, a nutcracker. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we're on the same page here, right? They've already crossed the hurdle of dressing up in a costume together. I don't see how Claret and Cleric is too different, because it is. It
It is,
you
but
are
on the
okay, no, because if you're like, oh well, MMOs are weird and not socially acceptable, then how are you gonna sit here and say, well, what's the problem with Abby dressing up as a character from the MMO? If by your own logic this would be a weird thing to do, you can't have your cake and eat it too and then complain about Teshi having her cake and eating it too. Like it like I don't know, it's a completely different ballpark. It's not the same. I can say from experience it's not the same.
I will say that yeah, it's not the same, but on the other hand, like I would have definitely seen it would seem more acceptable between the two. To it does seem too weird that neither of them would have like wanted to go in cosplay. Like yeah, maybe like at least as they're together. It would have been a neat little bit to have them like talk that out.
It yeah, well that
But
would have, not been relationship drama and Paula wouldn't have been
it
choked
could
out.
have.
Uh it is Halloween dressing up for Halloween and cosplaying at a convention is the same in the sense of a a sports mascot in a fursuit is the same thing. It's not. You can use a sports mascot to try to explain kind of what a fursuit is to someone that doesn't know what it is, but it's not the same. Let's be real. But I also agree. What the fuck is Abby supposed to be? Can we get can we get Teshi in chat to explain what the hell this is? Uh, Eden later informed me that Abby was a Salem witch era guy to go. Oh, so he's a pilgrim.
Uh,
Literally a couple's costume, and it references a historical event. I rest my case. What about?
oh.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with a character from a book and a cleric from a video game? Those aren't even in the same ballpark. I will give you that this was when they were 15, and the perceptions of a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old are very different. So if you want a more recent example of them actually being vulnerable, remember when they almost slept together?
No,
That,
I like to not remember that
but
actually.
that still has nothing to do with cost. That I get the argument is that they are very comfortable with each other and they do like couple costuming together. But
Yeah.
I agree, right, that them not going to the con together was stupid. I just agree. But it's also a trope, and it is like a weird Teshi executed it in a very strange way. Uh but, I mean, it's this is just a simple. It causes this mess, right? The writing causes, and the thing is, it's not even just specifically this one thing, Amazil. It is literally
Uh,
you could write this about everything else in the comic.
and I do.
I know. Uh,
No.
it never ends. You could sit here and run around in circles and say, well, your logic doesn't make sense, but it's because the comics logic doesn't make sense. Uh, and people are trying to make sense out of something that's nonsense. But PC, listen, my point is safe boundaries as a whole chapter. As a whole, is a chapter where Daisy and Abbey are making themselves arguably more vulnerable with each other than the conundrum of what if they think I'm a big nerd who likes anime and MMOs. Yeah, but there is still a difference. Wait, it is interesting to me that they open about their sexuality and potential future there, but cannot in turn bring themselves open about their nerdier interest. Yeah, but
Yeah.
sexuality is something that is driven by nature. Like that is a hormonal, especially because they're teenagers, is like a hormonal thing driven by nature, and is not something you can really choose. You can choose to act on it, but you can't choose to have it. And I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, what about asexual people?" They're not asexual, right?
My choice.
Uh, so that it's still not the same.
Mm.
Like when you're in that situation with someone that you like, and like the hormones start taking over, it's not, you're not thinking, oh, are they gonna think I'm weird? Like some people might think that, but most people are not going to be that way.
Mm.
uh Now I think the other issue is that Teshi, the way Teshi, like the only other sexual character we really ever saw was Rachel, and she just fucks anything that moves, so it's kind of like, well, what's the big deal? uh
How dare you? Don't you slander my girl.
There's nothing wrong with fucking everything that moves. I mean, there is, but like,
It's,
you know what I mean. Uh, so I don't know. Opening up about a personal nerdy interest is not the same as having your hormones take over, and your monkey brain says, I want to reproduce now, right?
well, like the thing is, like, if we are going to talk about since they're bringing up the condom chapter, like, I think they're more trying to what they're trying to do is apply reasoning to that chapter, beyond
It was just a
the
funny,
surface.
funny little chapter.
Yeah, but yeah, but it doesn't need to be, um, it's they're trying to say, like, yeah, this was meant to be like a bit way of showing that their relationship is better than that. Also, again, I just look at this fucking interaction, and just it reads like they're fucking siblings. And Pal's like, no, no, I don't
Oh,
want you to do that.
and by the
Stop.
way,
I don't want to think of you like
Abby
that.
Abby stops them from going any further, so that also just kind of kills your argument there. Like they stop themselves, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I
Uh,
don't, what is your argument? What are you trying to say, dude? Uh
Alright.
let's see. But we get the point. Why didn't they just talk about it? And she's bringing up every example of it doesn't make sense that they would do all this stuff but then not talk about this one thing. You are trying to apply logic to the most dramatic thing that could happen. I know I'm a hypocrite because I've done the same shit, but like it's like I've said in many videos that I have just accepted BCB for what it is and not for what I want it to be. Uh,
Yeah, I think I
and what it
mentioned that.
is it wants to just tell the most insane dramatic story even if it doesn't make any sense. And it works. Keeps people coming back every other day, I'll tell you that.
Mhm.
They even bring up the weirdness of that when they see each other. Laugh at me. Me neither. And how could I laugh? And how could I laugh? What do you mean? They both smile and reassure that they wouldn't have laughed or made fun of each other. So there you go. Guest of honor as a whole is invalid because there's no good reason that Daisy and Abby wouldn't have gone to the convention together in the first place. Yeah, but the drama had to happen. And even so, Paulo and Abby will still have to have a conflict at some point, and I haven't actually explained yet. Yeah, why would... See, look at... I don't understand Abby's, like, paranoia when Paulo literally does this the instant he shows up. I can't believe you're trying to steal my girlfriend, Paulo. How dare you try to get us back together and then push us together at the convention, you pervert. Why did Paulo not insult Abby at all? If you recall, we have Paulo teasing Daisy at the start of the chapter. He laughs at Sue and by extension the rest of the group, but Sue is the one who reacts to the jab. I ain't even gonna go there. You guys know what I would say about that. He does another jab specifically for Sue, then reminds Mike, who is aware that he plays a girl in an MMO. So he sees Abby all dressed up in cosplay and doesn't say anything. From a writing standpoint, I have a big beef with this. From an in-universe standpoint, I do need to address something before we continue. I mean, I guess, but like Abby's standing all the way at the fucking back. So it like he's gonna see all of these people before. I guess he's taller than everyone else.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's not necessarily the I would go to the previous shot, is that is the proper. Well, not in the there, but in the actual canon, with the establishing shot. Because even then, like Abby is the one who talks first. So even from that standpoint, like Abby or Paolo should respond to Abby first. So I don't think that
know.
works. Or
I
no,
mean,
yeah.
I think Paulo just cares more about Sue than any of them, so you know that's why he said something. But anyway, uh, it, I don't know. What is he supposed to sit there and roast every single person individually?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that would just take up too much time. It'd be like a weird slowdown.
Look, take up too much time. Slow down. Do you remember Guest of Honor?
No, I wasn't there when it was being written. That's the thing. I started reading during.
Neither was I. But
What do you mean? Neither was you. You were reading this comic a decade ago.
Guest of Honor was during my hiatus. Like I said, look, I mentioned this before. Like the whole rant series happened because I was covering the chapters that I hadn't read. And you know what was the fucking and it was the second fucking chapter, or I stopped reading after not seeing a crap trapped, which going back into the Paolo show rant, like that's when, which I showed in the Paolo show rant, and boy toy after that boy toy and then scenic crap, but where is it? What am I thinking? But these things are all out of whack. Like, but yeah, so yeah, I actually hadn't read Guest of Honor when it came out. I only read it like once I started doing the rants on the Tumblr blog, and when I read it like 30. The bathroom scene doesn't happen until page 34. I'm gonna say like page 30 is when Abby comes in.
That's 30... actually right on the money.
Yeah. I'm never wrong. I am always right. Never doubt me, okay? But that means that 3/4, actually more than 3/4 of the chapter is just Paolo and Daisy going on this little adventure to the convention. And the way and that's why Like, if you go back and read that rant on Guest of Honor, like, the way that I put it is like, it comes out of nowhere because, like, the majority of this chapter, and people didn't realize this because that's the only thing people think or talk about with Guest of Honor is the Abbey smash. They forget that 90% of that fucking chapter is just really sweet, cutesy shit between Paolo and Daisy, and it's really nice. And then it just hits you with this fucking Abby shit that does nothing but just destroy and take over everything else. The metaphor I use to describe this chapter is like the most sickeningly sweet, delicious donut with a razor blade inside of it. That's what it's like reading this chapter. Because it doesn't need to be there. And it is the. And to me, that is why, like, this is a clear character assassination for Abby. Because it really. Because not only if we think about it from the narrative standpoint, right? Why even have like Abby thing? Yes, you could say that it's so that we can have the drama, yeah, but that's a cop out, okay? Why do we need to have the drama? If we do need to have the drama, why did we have to go about it this way? Why did we have to go through 30 pages hyping up this stuff? And the reason is because we want to push into Paolo X Daisy. And so that's why 90% of this chapter is Paolo and Daisy and trying to set up their chemistry, because we didn't really have that before. We didn't really have too much chemistry between these two characters where they were able to be characters with themselves. So, once we have that established, then it's like, oh, but she's in a relationship. We can't really do that. What if that's cheating? Oh, well, we have to have a conflict. Well, now we put in the Abby smash. So that now Abby has a real, tangible con to his character that allows the idea of of Daisy breaking up with Abby to become more feasible, and that's elaborated on, or and that's reinforced in the fact that the very next chapter is Golden Hour, where we get all those stupid flashbacks about Abby being like, "Oh, you are always so defensive of Paolo. You don't care about me. You don't blah, 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 blah." That's what this really is. That's what this really is all about. It's not just trying to build drama. It's it is the purpose of the drama, and that's just what it has to be. That's why all this shit is happening.
Yeah, I mean, but that, like I said, the symptom of what's the most dramatic thing that could happen, right?
It's
And
not
it's a
even that.
mess.
I think the real. I don't even. I'm not. That's too vague, because it's like, what is the most dramatic thing to happen? What is dramatic? What is the point of drama? Why even like have that, right? Because without it, like, it doesn't really add anything.
Yeah,
It
well, it mean it. I don't know, man. I mean, it doesn't. Uh, well, it added the ability to write this whole Google Doc about why it's bad. Uh, well, because all right, remember when Mike went back to Sandy in Eternal Flame, and then in Burnt Bridges, Lucy did the R word.
Mhm.
This is Abby's R word, right?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
Paula was mean to Abby, so now Abby has to do an R word, and so he can be also as bad. That is the purpose of this chapter, right?
Yeah, that's the character assassination we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do it. Let me go to that. let's see. He does another dress for Sue. Blah, blah, blah. For many universes, I do need to address something before we continue. Paulo is in fact capable of being around Abbey and not making fun of him. It is possible that Paulo can look at Abbey and not call him a fruitcake, nerd, loser, etc. And it is possible that that's simply what is happening here, and it would be unfair to not consider that possibility. Yeah, but like this is also back to the thing of we never get to see them outside of the drama, so unless their lives are 100% drama, which would be exhausting. Uh, I of course he probably doesn't constantly insult Abbey 24/7. It's just we only see the times where he insults Abbey. But back to the writing standpoint, given that he's insulted 3 other people he knows this chapter, and I've documented Paul's track record of insulting Abbey on site, Abbey has just waltzed up to Paulo face to face with him in full cosplay. Yeah, but Abbey and Daisy start talking. That's the thing. And Paulo already feels some kind of way about Abbey because him and Daisy already had a talk in Golden Hour about it. What do you think he's gonna? What do you think he's?
They haven't already had it yet. That's next.
Oh,
chapter.
That's the next chat. I keep I keep forgetting. That's why Amazil's here to keep me on track. Still, he's clearly just trying to. I don't know, why is he being weird about this shit? I don't get it. But anyway, point is,
because he's
doesn't
a
matter.
jealous, self-righteous douchebag.
He just pushes Abbey or Daisy onto Abbey, and then they talk, and then it's like, okay, well then, what is he gonna do? Do that, and then interrupt Daisy or like insult Abbey right in front of Daisy? I don't know, dude. Look, Teshi didn't decide she wanted to do that kind of thing until the next chapter. That's why she had to make it in a flashback instead of putting it in the comic as it was happening. Even though she's already done that, so I don't know. She had to.
It's also very jarring. I just want to point this out. Like, from like the narrative standpoint, it was a few chapters ago. It was like some chapters ago, but it's still fucking. It is so transparent. The fact that this happens after Take Heart, like just one volume before it, or well, yeah, 8 chapters after Take Heart, which, to be fair, like, and remember, 8 chapters back then was an average of 15 to 20 pages. Only 3 of them were over 30 pages. So, like, that wasn't that much time. So it's like, it's weird that right after Paolo fucking helped fix their relationship, it's back on the rocks again. Like, I hated that so much. So fucking lame.
Oh, right, we're back. She had to show that Paula wasn't actually after Daisy, so it had to show that Abbey was totally in the wrong. But also it doesn't make sense because I talked about this in the Why Date Night Doesn't Work video, but the thing I don't understand is why all of a sudden now Paulo and Daisy have feelings for each other. Just out of nowhere. And every opportunity that Paulo had to get with Daisy, he turned it down. Now you could say this is because Paulo wanted, clearly Daisy was missing Abbey, so he put Daisy's feelings before his. But why would he do that when he thinks, I don't know, man. People ask me questions about this comic, like, well, why did they do this? I don't fucking know. Because Teshi wrote them doing this shit. Damn.
Like here, well, the thing is, I don't really believe that it's specifically just for shipping them to. Again, when I read this, I took it again because I am a fool who believed in the platonic relationship, and that this is just like sibling chemistry between Paolo and Daisy, because that works the best for explaining their characteristics.
But they're in love.
Like, no, it's also like fucking, it's fucked up that they're doing this because again, Rachel Rachel is still there. Rachel is right fucking there.
Jasmine's
We
still
have
there. Like, goddamn, he should have stayed with
well,
Jasmine.
Jasmine's broken up. Okay, it's Rachel's turn.
Uh,
Rachel had fucking small
Rachel was
fry. Okay,
before Jasmine, bro. She had her chance.
no.
Besides,
Look,
Paul wasn't really into the Rachel thing. The only reason he did that is because David made
how
him feel like
dare
a
you?
fucking
How
loser.
fuck you, small fry. Small fry happened. It was only a few chapters ago from Guest of Honor. Okay,
Yeah, but
that's
don't they break up?
so that's not until fucking Love Again, I think. No, Unspoken Rule. Not until Unspoken Rule do they
This definitely
does
looks like
Paul
the
turn
face
into a
of a
brick
guy
wall.
who's totally into this girl right now, for sure. Because this is when he was like simping over Lucy, right? He can't do
He
he. Okay, would it be fair for Paula to treat Rachel like this, and then after it didn't work out with Lucy, he just runs right back around to get with Rachel?
No, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about in the chapter Guest of Honor and in that arc.
Yeah,
Like
but he was
that
still
was
waiting for
Rachel's time.
Lucy.
Yeah. Yeah. But Rachel is the fucking one right there.
Yeah, no, but he
Like
didn't want Rachel. He wanted Lucy. She touched his tralala,
uh,
and and he and he, you know, on her, and then she went to the stage and didn't have any time to clean up. And this is in the comic and is canon, and will
uh,
always be there. It will never go away.
why do you have to?
I'm not
I'm not.
reminding this. I'm not reminding you because I want to hurt you. I'm just saying that he didn't give a shit about. Like, he obviously cared about Rachel, but he didn't want to be with her.
The
And I
double down
honestly,
rant is going to be postponed another month.
I honestly don't think it would be fair to Rachel for him to fucking throw her off, like give her the cold shoulder over Lucy, and then when he's like, maybe it won't work out, or it's not working out, then run back to her like that. That's
He
kind of.
wasn't giving her the cold shoulder though. Like,
But he wasn't into it. He clearly was not into it, and he felt guilty because he
yeah,
felt like he was
but
cheating on Lucy.
he did. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, they don't have to fucking do that. And in fact, like they weren't, or well, if that's the case, they still did it then, right? Because that's how Small Fry ends.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
it's
emotional
the
cheating is what matters, right? Emotional cheating is the important thing.
if you want to frame it like that, sure, but it's fucking nuts
I look,
because yeah.
just ask Teshi why she did it,
Look,
why he didn't go back.
all I'm saying is that that's you. The whole fucking volume, the whole of the Paolo show is setting up like the relationship with Paolo and Rachel. Well, with between him being jealous about Matt, between Small Fry, between the fucking between Total Recall, well, all that is to do that. And so to add on to that, also it's also Daisy's turn is very confusing during this bit, during this whole scene. On top of the fact that soon Lucy's gonna be coming in, and so what? So you have this fucking quasi three-way. Like, no, not even three-way. Is it one, two, three, four? Love square. You got another fucking fucked up love square. We don't do that. We stick to twos. Okay? Love triangles is as far as we go geometrically. Don't you make the fucking love trapezoid, okay? But and but that's but what I'm trying to say is that I don't think that it's fair. I don't conceptualize it as Paolo wanting Daisy, as at least in this part of his at this part of the story, just because like they haven't really gone into that. Paolo has shown no real like romantic interest in Daisy. Even I said it in that rant that even in like that sweet bits in the con at the con, it still felt very much like they were still like this sibling chemistry, where Paolo's very defensive of Daisy and wanting to keep her like safe, like baiting, like bullying those kids who were making fun of Daisy for being fat.
Or like fat claret.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, and so that works far better for them than if it were supposed to be that he's having these romantic feelings for Daisy in this moment or in this part.
Yeah, but
It
look
just
at
doesn't work.
this. No, 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 no. Look at this. They go to Burger Chun. They go to Burger Chun and she wipes his face and he's like, ah. Where's Burger Chun at? There it is. Look at this. Look at that. Look how red she gets. Look how
Oh
red
yeah,
he
Daisy
gets.
might, but he can't.
But look at that. Look at he's like, ah, I'm so blushy right now. I'm so embarrassed.
Uh-huh.
So like, I don't know, man. When did they start liking each other? Who the fuck knows? Teshi decided that
Yeah.
it's time to end the comic now, so they're going to spend several years not spend several years beating around the bush. Back to these panels again. Let's see. Doesn't say something. Abbey presented himself. Oh, Paulo. Oh yeah, I guess no, because this is the same thing with remember we talked about December and how it was so masterfully set up because Teshi was making Lucy be a likable character for once, and that's what makes it so much harder when Lucy gets her soul crushed. That is what this is, but for Paulo and Abby. You make
Except
Paulo a
instead of
likable guy, except for he made fun of them, yeah, sure, but he didn't make fun of Abby, is the thing. And he's like, "Oh, hey, Abby," and then he does the that with his hands. That's supposed to be like the, oh, poor Paulo didn't deserve getting choked out. I mean, he didn't, even if this didn't happen. And even if Abby had done the choking out to him after he made fun of him, he wasn't choking him out because he was making fun of his costume. He was choking him out because he thought he was trying to hit on Daisy. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, which is what this whole document is about. I honestly, I think people actually asked about this before, and Teshi gave a non-response. I think she posted the picture of Abby with the fucking trilby like tipping his fedora.
yeah.
I'm not 100% on that. That might not be true, but it would be interesting to see Teshi sit down, read this document, and explain, more about what's happening here. That would honestly be the best thing. But she's not. Teshi never explains her storytelling decisions, hardly ever. She keeps a lot of her storytelling stuff under lock and key. Like this shit's fucking Fort Knox, you know. Speaking of my behavior, my next question, like, yeah, not even Suitcase says anything either, which, good on him. My next question is about Abby's behavior following this. Question 3. Why the fuck does Abbey, who struggles with his own violent tendencies, smiles? Because he thinks
Yeah.
he's righteous. He thinks he's doing the right thing. When people are having, when someone with
Because
anger
he's a
management,
psychopath.
yeah, well, okay. I don't know if that was a joke or you're being serious, but when people they have anger
This is
management,
psychotic
they
behavior.
don't.
Okay, this
Yeah, no,
is.
it is, but he doesn't think he's doing the wrong thing. That's why he's smiling. He's not thinking, "Oh, I'm about to do something violent." He's thinking, "I'm about to protect Daisy from this guy who I perceive to be a threat to
You
her."
want to hear a secret?
Go ahead.
That's psychotic people don't think they're doing the wrong thing either.
Yeah, I understand. Crazy people don't realize they're crazy, which is what makes them crazy. But I don't, because but the thing is that people get so mad when because I've seen this on the Donde Esta Lucy blog. A lot of people got very upset. A lot of people that understood and identified with Abby, because they also have like mental health things and anger management. They got really upset when this chapter happened because everyone said that Abby was a crazy person, that he was psychotic, that he was evil and an abuser, and they were like, I feel they didn't say they felt personally attacked, but they were essentially saying I feel personally attacked because that
Yeah.
makes me feel bad because I identify with this character, and people are saying he's bad, so by extension they're saying that I'm bad. And
Mm.
Teshi tried to be like, well, I didn't intend for people to see Abby this way, but it's like that's how you wrote the scene. Like
Yeah.
I don't under like I think in Teshi's head it made more sense. Like to her it makes sense, but it didn't get executed in that manner. And
Yeah.
this kind of further, I talked about it during the Donde Esta Lucy stream, but I was like, you got to disconnect you cannot fully connect yourself to a fictional character because they're gonna do the wrong thing. And when people start not liking that character, then you don't have to feel personally attacked when somebody doesn't like a character you identify with. I don't think the people that dislike Abby and thought he was a psychopath would sit there and say the same thing to you, because you're not going around doing this shit. Unless you're going around choking people like this, you got nothing to worry about. But if you're walking around doing this, yeah, you're kind of fucking crazy. Anyway,
Okay. Look here. Okay. Here's the thing, right? I agree. I agree with that 100%. But this is a core problem of BCB that I haven't really gotten the opportunity to talk about, but it's a problem I've known about for a long time. I've and I talk about this with like all my like all those the guy the guys that I like
yeah,
record with
the
like in the
boys.
things. Yeah, all of them. I think I may have done it in one shot, but um basically the problem with BCB is all these like all the complex, the nuance, the oh you don't understand, the fact that we focus on these characters' trauma so much. The problem and if you don't understand these characters, it's because you don't understand their problems, you don't understand what they're going through, you don't understand this. And if only those that do understand those problems, only those that do have gone through that are the ones that can understand these characters, and they're the only ones that can excuse their behavior. They're the only ones that can see the reasoning in them. That's the problem with BCB, is that I can't blame those people that project themselves onto these characters, because the comic literally enables them to project themselves onto these characters, because that's the only way that you can understand or justify some of these actions. Because only then can you, because if you were a fucking reasonable person, you would see that some of this stuff is just wrong. It's just not right. It's not how you're supposed. It's why whenever we do those record whenever I do those recordings with the boys, and it's why I insist on having the boys on some of these episodes, it's so that they can show that, hey, these things that happen, all these crazy reaction moments, all these crazy overly dramatic nukes that happen, those that's not indicative of reality. That is not indicative of normalcy. That is not what high school is really like. That's not what teenage years were like for everyone. And if that it's and that's not to say, or that's not to discredit people who have gone through trauma. It's not to discredit those who find themselves relating to these characters. It's to say that if you find something in these characters that you relate to, if you relate to their problems, if you relate to their like overreactions, if you can understand that, I'm not saying that you are crazy. I'm not saying that you are unhealthy. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying that there may be something worth looking into. That is not a healthy lifestyle, and you shouldn't enable these destructive tendencies. You shouldn't excuse these destructive tendencies in yourself, in your friends, or in these characters. It's why I always fucking criticize it, because this shit ain't right. It's not healthy. It can be realistic, it can be excusable, it can be justifiable in some cases, but it's not normal. And that's not, and it's the problem that you get when you keep upping the ante. You keep adding more shit on. You keep going for the extreme, and you keep going for the fucking backstab and adding more shit onto the characters. It's like why if there's any fucking follow up to this, it should be the character assassination of fucking Lucy, because it really didn't need to make it. They really didn't fucking need to drop the hard R on Lucy. They really fucking didn't need to go there, but they did. Why? Because they needed to add more on. They needed to balance the scales by dragging Lucy down. That's a whole
You
fucking
know,
thing.
a good way to not have to worry about that is if Mike didn't go back to Sandy, because that makes literally no goddamn sense in the entire series of events that night. It literally doesn't make any sense. Like the,
No, a
and I
good
just
way
mean
to
like the
fucking
timeline doesn't make sense.
no. The one good thing, what you could do to remedy that, is to fucking let your characters grow and learn and improve and find help. It's the main problem with assassinating Abby's character in this way. It's the main thing that I always bring up about why Abby sucks. It's that he is the one fucking character who has had therapy. He's the one character who went and got help. Lucy also is supposed to, or presumed to, even though we've never fucking heard it, even though she's never said anything about it.
Wait, did she?
No, no. As far as I know,
No, no,
as
no.
far
I
as the
thought you were saying that everyone presumed that she did. No, Teshi said that she didn't
man,
because Teshi said that therapy doesn't just like magically fix everything.
that's so fucking stupid. I fucking hate it. I knew that was a thing. I fucking knew it. And that's the fucking problem with Abby, isn't it? That's the fucking problem with Abby, is that it doesn't fucking help. You want to know what the real fucking problem? It is exactly what I talked about. This is exactly what I mean about how people are projecting themselves onto these characters and they can't fucking see the problems with them. This here, the idea that therapy doesn't work. Yes, it isn't a magical fucking solution. And let me, kids at home, no. Therapy isn't a magical fucking solution that's going to solve all your problems. It's not going to make everything better. It is not going to make it great. What it does is help. It is an opportunity to help. The thing that makes, and you know why, what, and yeah, it can be completely bunk. It can completely be a waste of time. But you know how you can help, how you can mitigate that? It's by being accepting, by being honest, by being upfront about your problems and not hiding away from it. The entire point of therapy is for you to be vulnerable and open about what is eating you so that you can maybe get some idea of working around it and maybe having a third person, an outsider's perspective into how you can solve that can help. And the main issue with that shit and why that fucking statement pisses me off so much, and it's the same reason why I made January.
Well,
Because yes,
I mean,
yes,
she said more or less what you. She didn't say like, oh, it doesn't help at all. She just was like, you know, it doesn't always help like that. Because people like, why didn't Lucy just go to therapy? And that was her reasoning. Well, you know, therapy doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna help.
but here's the thing. Here's the problem. You know what the thing is? You know what's even worse than that is not going, deciding. Oh yeah, because that's again. This is why I made January, because the worst thing you can say is that actually, you know what? It's not even fucking worth it. You know, this is the one fucking. The problem
It's
with Abby is that he's the one person who went there and he became worse. What does that tell those that fucking project themselves onto this character? That it doesn't fucking work.
well,
That it does. It's not worth. It's not worth exploring that option. You're fine where you are. You're better there because you know it doesn't fucking work. Because it's not gonna fucking help.
I
It's not
don't
gonna do anything.
I don't
So
think that was
fucking
Teshi's intention, but I can
it.
understand how you can extrapolate that. It's
But
kind of
that's what it
interesting
fucking feels like.
considering that Teshi, I believe, has gone through some form of therapy that did help her. So, and it's not like Abbey doesn't realize what his shortcomings are, because he talks about it in At Loose Ends, which I think is the last time they ever mentioned him going to therapy. Uh, where he understands that he has a problem, but he can't understand like why he is the way he is. But he knows it's a problem. He sees the brick wall and doesn't know how to get through it, right?
Yes. And you know what fucking helps with that? A therapist.
But none of this matters because this is the most dramatic thing that could happen. It got people talking. Whenever things get too whenever things get too quiet, when everything settles down a little bit too much, Teshi throws a fucking pipe bomb through the window and says, "Let's stir up the silts. Let's stir up the river. You know, let's stir everything up." And that's what this is. Everything's going a little bit too smooth. Time to pop. Here we go. Which, by the way, Abbey never apologizes for this.
No, yeah.
Even when
I
he gets
noticed that
called out
too.
for it, he doesn't apologize because he. And I remember this because I made a 3D conversion of it. Um, let's see, it's
Yeah,
on.
I think I touched about that in the rapid fire rant
Fuel
when I
economy.
covered the dodgeball scene. But yeah, it's he never really did.
That
It's
and
fucking
then he says,
stupid.
"Oh right." Oh wow,
But
he
it's
does
okay. He
apologize, but he
doesn't.
says it the way like Squidward apologizes to SpongeBob.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
really
okay.
sorry
He
for
doesn't have. But he doesn't
hurting
have
you
to
and
because he's been
threatening
fucking.
you.
Ah,
Wait, oh, I can kind of read this. I'm really sorry for hurting you and threatening you. It was something. I still don't like you, okay? Yeah, I don't like you either. So why would you offer me right? It's just the right thing to do. This panel is so manipulative. I love this so much. Look at that. This is the Anger Goblin arc.
God, I hate passive aggressive Paolo.
I don't know. I think he's being genuine.
I mean, yes, but also it's okay, but.
Hey Hunter, have a good day. Or not see you if you didn't leave. I don't know. Wow, but I actually have to answer all three of these questions, by the way. But to answer them, I need to ask them once
Oh.
again. What?
Oh no, I'm wondering what the questions are.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Abby struggles with how he jumps to aggression as a defense, which is true. We see that in at loose ends. He doesn't like that he is this way, and doesn't like how close that would make him to his estranged father. So why is he smiling? Cause it's a fake out. It's a freaking you don't see this part yet, even though it's half the page, right? You see this and you're like, oh wow, bam. It's also supposed to put Paulo on the back foot, right? I don't know. It may because it's more dramatic this way. That look the end the things Tesh. Who says you have to follow up on things or like keep in mind things that you set up in your story previously, right? Like you don't have to do that. You guys could just completely throw all that out the window because you have a new idea, right? Like who says you have to follow up on things you already established previously? That's what stupid writers do. Smart writers just make it up. Just say fuck it. I have a really cool idea for a scene where Abby chokes Paulo, which on its own, without everything else that was set up, or like everything else, could be a really interesting, fun concept. Well, not fun, you know what I mean. It could be a dramatic concept to explore, but it doesn't fit with everything else you set up. Once again, a good idea, poorly executed. And also, you could say this about everything in the comic, most things in the comic. Why did Mike get back with Sandy? Just from my perception, it doesn't make any sense, especially after she released On Call. Uh, it's a shit like that. Why would Paulo all of a sudden want to get in James's pants even though he said he didn't want to do that? Who fucking knows? Well, the answer is because it's dramatic. And it was Pride Month. No, I'm just kidding. These chapters are written well in advance. She didn't choreograph that. Uh, and why for this matter is this in response to nothing. So first of all, Abbey is not immune to responding with violence to Paulo, but it is almost always in response to something Paulo has said or done. Yeah, but you can't do this because this was back when it was slapsticky comedy. It Do you see? And then this is the other issue, because at some point Teshi decided that she didn't want it to be a funny hee ha ha funny cat comic. She wanted to tell a serious story with like rape and fucking suicide.
We use the hard R word. Okay.
Sorry, the hard R, and suicide and PTSD
I
and
prefer
infidelity.
suicide.
Abby smacks him with the reindeer toy and makes fun of him. This is played off as humorous. Yes, because Teshi decided she didn't want to do that anymore. That was one of the things. I don't know if you guys have watched the Bad Webcomics Wiki Review Redux video, but that is one of the things where I was like, because the person in the review said that one of their issues was that the comic has tonal issues. And I was like, yeah, this is still an issue today because of these first few chapters. The reason people fell in love with the comic is because it wasn't serious. It's outside of things like confrontation, it really wasn't that serious. Why do you think Teshi waited so fucking long for Lucy to get PTSD from that night?
But, okay, look, here's the thing. I'm going to disagree on the idea that the early chapters ruined it, or like set up. If anything, it may have like changed the expectation because people were hoping it. But I always give credit, and why I always like to refer to the earlier volumes whenever I think about BCB or things like that, is because they had a good balance. It really showed that Teshi understood like how to balance like kind of a bigger like these things and not take it too far, because while it's treated like, oh yeah, there's slapsticky stuff and we're still having fun, the kids are still all right, but they can still have like some semi-serious moments. They can talk about like their real problems and issues. It's balanced in the same way that a regular sort of, it didn't go into full soap opera mode in terms of like the balance of the drama. And I've maintained like the main problem isn't that necessarily like it's going too far, or that it's not that it was wrong for it to do slapstick. I think that
No, I don't think it
it's
was
all
wrong at
that.
all. I think it was just weird for her to retroactively say, oh, that was all actually serious and you're supposed to take it seriously. That's the
Oh no,
problem.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's it's it's sort of the same issue that I have. I mean, that's the main issue that I have with fucking yeah, with Golden Hour, was that it took that fucking amazing scene where Paolo mouths off to Abbey and tells him, "Hey, stop being like this little piss baby and trying to make problems out of nowhere and trying to make problems bigger than they are. Just shut up and be happy for once and accept the goodness that's in front of you. Be fucking happy." The fact that the fact
You
that
mean take heart?
fucking
You said
yeah,
golden
but
hour. I just want to make
no,
sure we're
but
on the same.
Golden Hour, no, but Golden Hour is the one where it goes to where Abby makes mention of of Paolo being like, "Who cares about your dead mom? She does." Like who wants to listen to you whine about your dead mom all the time, and like
No,
finger
that's
wagging this whole
take
bit.
heart. He doesn't say that in golden hour. He says that in take heart.
No, No, he does. He says it both because he fucking
I
because
do
Abby.
not remember that, but I'll look it up
No,
real
I'm
quick.
saying that Abby is quoting Paolo in that. Abby quotes that to Daisy and says that that's when and points to that as being one of the reasons why of how Daisy wasn't there for him and bullshit. It, but yeah, and but that's what I mean. It's like there. That's the problem with these retcons. It goes back and it's like, oh, how dare you fucking clap at that fucking scene that shows Paolo standing up and solving and taking initiative, taking a stand against the drama developing in front of his fucking eyes and trying to stomp it. How dare you? How dare you laugh? It's the same shit that happened in December of how dare you laugh at the banter and bullying and the back and forth between Mike and Lucy. Oh, how dare you? Fuck, even though we literally enabled you to do that. But we didn't because we've rewritten it also like 3 times so that it won't, so that if you think that this was right, it was on you this entire time. God, I wonder why it's only fucked up people that get into the stupid comic.
Yeah, welcome to the club. Hey, Defiant. I remember reading these when I was younger, and I decided to pick it up again years later. I reread everything up until today, and after I saw Mike get back together with Sandy, it lost me. Yeah, I mean, when I was reading it for the first time, that's when I was like, oh, well, none of this matters then, because Teshi can just decide to throw out all the character development and be like, yeah, I want to keep going. Uh, no, going back to that bad webcomics wiki review video, um, the person doing the review, the one from like 2014, was like, the comic had a downfall, but there's no one point in the comic where it just started, right? It just kind of happens over time. It's like a slow, like a frog in a hot pan. For me, the real downfall was when Mike went back to Sandy. That was when I was like, holy shit. Like, it didn't kill the comic for me. Obviously, I'm still here, but damn, dude. Sorry. I just wanted
It's
to
just
respond to
enough
chat.
to keep you there.
Yeah, she
It's
got
hell.
me. She got me. Uh, People often ask me, or people have asked me in the past, would you still be doing the Fandle? Would you still be reading it if you hadn't gotten banned? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It definitely wouldn't be as big of as it definitely would not be as big of a part of my life as it was. Like I kind of joked the other day when I was like, "Thank you, Suitcase, for banning me because you inspired me to make this channel." It's kind of a jab, but also kind of true. Uh, every time they put up a roadblock, every time they try to stop me from engaging with something, it just motivated me more. Yeah, same. I mean, I still get past that point, but God, it frustrated me so much. I really hate Sandy. She's so manipulative, but Mike is an idiot too, so maybe they really are meant for each other. I mean, there's someone in my Discord that unironically thinks Sandy is good for Mike, but yeah, I would hate that. I don't know, man. Mike is a good boy.
I'd recommend watching my fucking rant to see my opinions on that.
Yeah,
I
go
do think
watch
that it was like a to summarize my thoughts on uh, whatever the fuck that chapter is called.
Eternal
Yeah,
Pain.
Eternal Flame. Fucking I mean, I joked about it, but it's like this is the point of the heel turn. Like this is the it's so fucking nuts to see Sandy's character progression cuz it was clear that they didn't really have an idea for what to do like early on. She graduated originally she was like an enigma in the story. She was just like, ooh, this mysterious third character that has Mike's heart and stuff like that. Oh, she's causing things and oh, she's about that thing. But then after the Acapulco arc, she kind of became a plot device to motivate Mike into doing things. Like, why is Mike doing this? Oh, because of Sandy. Why is he doing that?
Yes,
Oh, because of
yes,
Sandy.
Mike.
That. And then now we've seen her just become an antagonist. This is just an antagonist arc. Um, and arguably that could have been a thing since fucking I no, I guess model girlfriend. She's still a plot device because there's just no substance to her character. The problem with Sandy, and I've always said this, and it's why I ended up making False Idol, is because she really doesn't have anything to her. She we don't get to see any moments. She's not allowed to be an actual fucking character. If she were, then we would be able to we would have some little breadcrumb. We would have had that classic fucking BCB uh so complex you don't understand bullshit, and you just don't understand these characters and their feelings. Reality is like one thing, and I want to actually know, define it if you can. Did you notice that, and one of the most damning pieces to Sandy becoming a just a straight up antagonist and someone that we are absolutely not supposed to care about? Did you notice that Sandy isn't actually in that fucking chapter? We never saw her. She doesn't show up once. It's we don't see her face. We don't see her
Oh, Eternal
show.
Flame.
Yeah, we
Yeah, it's
don't see
because
her when she's saying these
that's
things.
because Suitcase told Teshi not to put her in there. He
Yeah,
said to cut out the
we might
entire phone
actually
call.
start to. Maybe we might have actually started to. I don't know. Got a bit invested in it. Maybe might have actually strengthened the fucking love triangle to be more interesting of a fucking conflict instead of a one-sided stupid bullshit.
But when they do eventually show it, it just further proves why Mike should not have gone back with her. It's like the whole time Mike is frustrated with Sandy. He's thinking about Lucy the entire time, and then he still gets back with her, and I'm like, you just made this worse. And she can't like put the original phone call, which by the way, I have the original script for that phone call. She can't do that because she already reused a lot of those lines for later chapters. So she kind of wrote herself into a corner. But the original phone call, I would have like kind of understood why Mike went back, but this new one, I'm like, dude, he should have just fucking hung up on her stupid ass. Why did he? Oh, it's because it's
No,
the
I
most
was talking
dramatic
about
thing that could happen. Oh wait, what are you talking about?
well, I was talking about the previous where she broke it off, like in this big moment. What should have been, in her perspective, like the biggest moment in her life, like breaking up with her long distance boyfriend. You don't see her emotions throughout that time. We could have seen something from her, see her emote, and see maybe she's a bit more remorseful. Maybe she means it, but we don't see her ever actually show any emotion towards Mike
Yeah,
about
but
that.
Teshi said that the point of it all is that she is not good for Mike.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But that's the point, right? Is that that's the main takeaway. That's the one way you're supposed to read this scene. You're not supposed to read it any way else. And that's what I was taught. That's the problem with Sandy, is that you're not allowed to sympathize with this character. You're not allowed to think about this character in any way other than how we want you to, which is entirely which looping it back into what this whole doc is about. It's like that's the main thing that Teshi loves to do, is like, you just don't understand these characters, the nuance, my complex characterizations. You just need to change your perspective and you'd understand. You need to open your eyes and get woke. But it's like,
Whoa.
no, this, except for this one time, no, no. Don't you feel sympathy for her? Don't you even think that this is anything other than what we tell you it is? Fuck you. It's antithetical to everything that this comic, like, to everything that made this comic strong, or even now.
Alright, let's see. Hold up, I'm working on a. Oh, export as. There we go. Sorry, I was trying to do a thing in GIMP real quick. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. All right. By the way, we do have a Discord. I always notice we have an uptick in Discord members whenever I say it at like the beginning of a video. Like they're always at the end of the video, but we do have a Discord. By we, I
Yeah.
mean me. Um, let's see. Okay, so back to Abbey, because this is an Abbey story. Let's
Yeah.
see. Abbey delivers a silencing smack when Paulo asks if his younger sister is hot. This one might seem like an unnecessary response, but Abbey is protective of his like 10-year-old sister, and this is still in the time of the comic where physical violence was slapstick. I don't know. I kind of
Yeah.
feel like even not, this is like it's kind of inappropriate. Like Paulo couldn't have
Yeah.
known that she was 10, but still, it's like, come on, really?
Yeah.
I would have been on Abby's side for this one, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And it's still like the slapsticky thing. I agree with that.
Paulo buys Abby a gay adult video for his birthday. How do you know he... See, this is the thing I don't understand. Okay, I've talked about this a lot. How did Paulo get his hand... How did a 15-year-old get his hands on a gay porn VHS? There's no way he could have bought it. No one would have sold it to him. Did his dad have it somewhere? What did Teshi mean by that? Ooh, I'll join it now.
We have our ways.
Working on stuff, but I
Yeah.
enjoy this. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like how did he get his hands on a gay porn thing? Or like on any porn thing, really. It doesn't even matter have to be it doesn't have to be gay. It's like it doesn't make any sense. Honestly, if he had to go through some roundabout way of getting it, like shit, he put in so much effort into getting Abby that gift, like goddamn boy. Can't, you know what I'm saying? Like no one else went through that much effort. Abby pulls his hair. However, this is the most lighthearted, playful interaction the two ever have, and is treated as such. Wouldn't it be nice if their entire dynamic was this? Wouldn't that be the sweetest thing? Am I crazy for this?
Nah, I liked the idea of them having that little rivalry. Like it doesn't. I like.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
it's
don't
like
think-
Red and it's like Red and then the rival Pokemon, Professor Oak's nephew or whatever in Pokemon Red.
Come on, you can get him. You can do it.
His name is, well, you can name his rival, can't you, in that game?
Yeah, but they have an actual name. You know that.
Well, I know. Well, canonically, the character in Pokemon Red, his name is Red, for some
Yeah,
reason, and the guy's son or nephew is It's been so long since I've seen anything Pokemon, dude. I'm drowning here.
You have two options.
Is it Gary Oak? It's not Gary Oak. It's his name is Oak.
Gary is the American one with Ash, but you said Red.
No, Gary
so
Oak is
it's-
Professor Oak, right?
Yeah, he's his nephew. Did you know?
Okay, the blue in the game, Gary in the
Don't
anime.
tell the answer, damn it.
Oh, thank you, Defiant. Thank you. I appreciate you. Gold star, all the way.
You cheated.
I didn't. I phoned a friend. That's what I did. So let's see, Abby. Yeah, but if this had been their dynamic, I mean, this
Yeah,
this
it
is
could've
this
worked
is
well.
what the establishment fears, right?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the teacher wasn't in the room. I was like, if
Yeah.
the teacher was in the room, why didn't he tell him to stop doing that? Also, the angle in which Paulo was leaning, he would have fallen on his back. Like the chair would have
yeah.
went.
Yeah, that thing's at like that's an almost 90-degree angle.
Yeah,
he
that-
is.
Unless like,
Unless he is putting a lot of pressure on Abby's head.
I mean,
to
Abby
get it
is like, his
balanced.
head is kind of like, you know, pushed down a little bit. All Abby would have to do is go boop, and then Paulo would have went boop.
Yeah.
Abby digs his claws into Paulo's ankle after Paulo rests his feet on top of Abby's head. Also, how tall is Paulo to be able to reach his feet all the way across his desk on top of Abby's head? Like, come on.
Look, the size of these characters is hella skewed. All right, it's
Pa-
not worth even mentioning.
Apollo's fucking Stretch Armstrong, dude.
Look, I'd rather that. You know what? I will not criticize that because it was that line of thinking, it's that line of criticism that led to cheapification,
Look,
and I will not take it.
it's not that big of a deal. I'm just making a gaff. I really don't give a shit. uh, cheapification. This was the best style in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Like it
that.
had the nice shading, and it probably was like a lot of effort too.
I like
See,
the brighter colors. That's neat.
yeah. Actually, these colors are toned down. I was looking at like the original pages; they were much more saturated.
Oh, yeah,
Which was one of the complaints in the
fine.
Bad Webcomics wiki review. But anyway, it's not that big of a deal. Whether or not this is meant as humorous, I guess is up to you because it quickly moves on to the rest of the chapter. It's supposed to be funny for him. It's just supposed to be. I just took this as Paul being annoying. I don't know. Let's
Yeah,
see.
it is.
The ways in which Paulo antagonizes him is different each time, but the point is Abby only responds aggressively when Paulo has said or done something malicious to him. So it's very, very interesting that when Abby slams Paulo against the wall, a scene that is definitely meant to be serious, Abby is smiling, and Paulo has done nothing to him. Yeah, but the point is, like I said earlier, is that it's supposed to be emotionally manipulative. You're supposed to be like, oh, Paulo's an innocent baby who didn't deserve it, right?
I don't know about for that scene in particular. Like, nah.
I mean, if you're reading these pages as they update, it's gonna come off like that, right? Because it takes longer. But I mean, I also get this too
No,
because
not
once
even
again,
not even that because that's just such a brush away line or brush away scene. It's just one page, and it's the inaugural. Well, actually, that's not the first page. The first page is snow, but um, yeah, that's
uh,
oh god, the precursor of snow. I hate
but
that that's become a thing.
yeah, I mean, cold is the symbol of death, right? Uh,
No, I just hate that that's now like the fucking we are we're gonna do a splash page of just fucking snow. We're so fucking artsy. Oh, aren't we so dramatic?
it reads
Mmm,
better in the
fucking.
physical volume book. I think Teshia said that she doesn't see BCB as a webcomic.
Oh,
She just
isn't
sees it
that
as
great? I sure. So the only way to read this properly is by
look here.
spending 60 fucking
Let me
dollars
show
to
you. Let
get
me
it.
show you what I'm
You aren't a
talking about.
real reader unless you pay 60 plus
Is
shipping to get the right thing.
Eternal Flame is
So
not
fucking
in volume 6. There is a you got to give me a chapter with well, no, it's volume
no, I will give you 3 chapters where it does the fucking snow bit. Love Again Part 2. Well, I call it Love Again Part 2, but it's basically that the
yeah, here. Well,
the
I'll just show
flashback, yeah.
I'll just show
Fi-
December. I'll just show December 'cause
yeah.
it's going to be a lot. Let me make this bigger.
Yeah, there's December that does it. There's Love Again, and then of course fucking Eternal Flame does the twofer, and so I still
Wait, you
maintain
said
that
Love
fucking
Again?
splash pages are wrong. Yeah, Love Again Part 2
Oh, God,
specifically.
almost.
Well, I mean,
What do you
I
mean
call it
part
Part 2
2?
because I had to.
Well, which
I
one's
call
Love
it Part
Again
2
part 2?
because I call it Part 2 because I had to break when I did the rant on that chapter. I split it up into 2 parts so that the flashback at page 30 is separated, and I can just talk about that on its own. That's on the
Oh,
Back to the Rooftop
wait. All right. Well, I
bookmark.
need one that's within volumes 1 through 6.
1 through 6. That is in 6.
Love Again?
Yeah, it is. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, hold up. All right, you said there's snow and love again. Oh yeah, there is. Cause she back to the rooftop. Let me pull it up for you guys real quick. Do 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 do
I know
do.
the.
Yeah, here.
Don't you
Oh wait, no,
quote
I
the
got it, I
old
got it, I
man.
got it. Just calm down, okay? Here it is. I'm gonna be very careful. See, there you go. Look, like I said, it reads a lot better if you look in the book. That's the point
Yeah,
of all
and I've
this.
always said, like, that's so fucking stupid that, oh, it's meant for binge reading. So you have to either you pay the $60, or if it's happening in real time, you just gotta wait, 3 to 6 months for you to read the chapter properly. That's
Uh,
such a sustainable model. I can't believe no one else has done that.
but I also get this in the sense that uh, Agent Chimendez is pointing out that the thing that's happening in now has not been set up. It's completely against everything that has already been shown, which Teshi does all the time. So I, it just happens all the time. And once again, date night, perfect example. Eternal
Mm.
Flame, perfect example of Teshi just being like, "Ah, I'm gonna make the characters act out of character because I need the drama to happen." Uh, can't can't do that. That's wrong. If you do that, people get confused and they write 107. Well, now it's 104. I don't know why the page count keeps changing, but oh wait, is this saying it's 144 left? Oh, actually, I don't know. Point is that people get confused and they write several hundred-page long rants about how they don't understand what's happening in your comic. Is the issue. My conclusion then is that Abbey knew going in he was going to do this to him, but given all we know about Abbey so far, it's strange. The Abbey we've seen leading up to this point would react harshly to Paulo doing or saying something crass, but not smile and deliver a premeditated attack, especially when Paulo has done no thing. Yeah, imagine if Paulo just hadn't gone to the con. What if it was Rachel? Then this not wouldn't even have happened. So what was
Yeah.
Abby just gonna wait for the next time they were at school and then follow him into the bathroom and do it?
Oh my god, I just thought. Oh my god, I just had a terrible, terrible realization. That's the same line of thinking that inspired January. Because that was the. You know how that story is set up, right?
Yeah. What if Sue and Mike had been?
No, what if Mike didn't throw a bitch fit?
Well, yeah.
Then
It's
it would mean
because.
that Sue would have to be paired with him, and then we go on,
Oh
and
right.
then the pushes the conflict further down the line, and they can maybe solve this in a different, and it maybe gets brought up in a different way. Hey, there's an alternate reality not too far from this where January is based there's a January based around Paolo and centered around Paolo and Abby because of guest of honor.
Look,
Although that probably would have gotten thrown away the second that guest of honor or golden hour came out right
Agent
after. So
I mean, you could still do it, right? Agent Chimendez sounds like
I
she's like an inch away from writing that.
uh
These questions
do
to
it. Do it. I will give you I will help you on that. I will give you go right.
these questions do
Okay.
around in my head. It makes me think. Why would they disregard all of this characterization of Abby to get to this point? Well, to make sure we know Abby is wrong, as we said. The chapter is written around officially starting the conflict between Paulo and Abby, or at least it should be, because there should have, or at least it should be because there should have been a build-up. We as the audience should have known Abby was going to start a fight with Paulo or threaten him, or literally anything of the sort, but we didn't. Which goes back to the issue of no one has any sort of introspection, and shit just happens, man.
What's even worse about this, or what also makes this come out of like left field, is the fact that realistically that could have also happened in Scenic Route, right? Because at that one, that was where Paolo had to stay behind to take care of Daisy because Abby was left behind, right? He was being negligent, and she got hurt. Why didn't Abby have any problems with Paolo like that? We could have had. Why didn't you could have set it up there? Actually, you know what? I know that you do rewrites, Tashi. Why don't you have a bit where fucking Abby is looking at Paolo and glaring at him like because he's suspicious about him hanging with Daisy alone? Wouldn't it be there?
I
Anything?
mean, maybe
No.
they are working on the omnibus.
They already released it,
No,
didn't they?
omnibus 2. They're working on a second one.
Uh, okay, but no, but like, or, oh,
I don't think she's gonna rewrite that though. I think she's like she said that she's putting in this new intermission as the chapter after before dial tone or whatever.
Uh,
Because the most recent, and I've said it a million times, but people don't fucking read what I say, because whatever. But the newest intermission, behind closed doors, is supposed to take place after golden hour and before dial tone. It's the new chapter 91. It's just called an intermission for now because it's not finished. And that's going to be in the Omnibus 2 as chapter 91. Also, that means volume 6, the volume 6 book is going to be non-canon now because it's not in there. Which is going to annoy the piss out of me. I'm going to answer the three questions I presented shortly, but first I need to remind the readers, old and new alike, what we got from Abbey after this chapter for 2 years. Abbey insinuated Daisy would let Paulo do anything to her. Abbey happily ragging on Paulo, made not so lighthearted given what he did. I also don't feel like Jasmine would have been like as comfortable about talking about Paulo if she had known. She would have been like, this guy's kind of fucking insane and I want to stay away from him. Like, if he treated Paulo like that, how do I know he's not going to snap at me and like do the same shit to me, right?
Well, I mean, that didn't happen yet. That's clean slate. But, oh wait, no, actually
No,
that
this
is
happens
after.
yeah.
Never mind, yeah. Although I do say, like, I also disregard Jasmine in that chapter because I feel like that was also, like, that was a chapter that made me really kind of hate on Jasmine.
No,
Just because, like I hated that they made her like be more spiteful and have more full to Paolo. Like, what purpose? Like, why? On top of the fact that, like, in Take Heart and stuff, like, it seemed like she helped him out, and she recognized that, hey, Paolo's doing this nice thing and he's actually being earnest. That's really nice, and giving him credit. And then she goes and it's like, oh yeah, he's such a dummy. Oh, you're right,
I mean,
Abby.
she is a teenager. Teenagers do this shit all the time. Let's be real. Some adults do this shit.
She's just a kid, and life is
That's...
indeed a nightmare.
Oh my god. Look, I know that brushing off them acting erratic because they're teenagers is kind of a cop-out argument, but sometimes it just be the way that it be, you know? I think the other thing too is she's trying to kiss up to Abby because she doesn't want him. It's like she doesn't want things to be super awkward, so she's kind of just playing along with it. But she does go back. She's like, he wasn't all bad. Like, I had a great time with him.
Yeah.
But Abby doesn't like that, and he fucking shoots her in the face. No, he doesn't do that. Might as well have. Wow, haha, he hit Paulo. Ha ha ha, he's so angry, lol. Wow, Abby, great aim. Wow, shit. They sure do play a lot of dodgeball at this school. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean they kind of lampshade it, but also like
it's probably the easiest thing for Teshi to draw because the characters just have to stand around and balls are like round, so it's easy.
Balls are indeed round.
They do be round. Abby's secret comes out. He tries to justify himself, and when Daisy shows concern for Paulo, he publicly breaks up with her. It's fucking base, dude.
What, Abby is based?
No. I mean, yes. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Abbey has to keep himself from blowing up just seeing Paulo and Daisy interacting with each other. I got a bone to pick. How come Sue didn't give Lucy shit for trying to keep Daisy from living her own life when she gave Abby shit for trying to give Daisy shit for trying to live her own life? I don't know. I think Sue is a Lucy simp.
Well, that is true, but also I don't think that I don't know if Sue knew about that. Well, oh wait, no, if you're talking about it's all in the mind, then maybe. But
and can't forget hateful glare at Paulo for good measure. I like this. This is funny. I think this is a callback, isn't it?
Maybe.
Paulo got plenty of perspective in post Guests of Honor chapters. Golden Hour, Table for One, Unspoken Rule, and Model Girlfriend are just some examples. He has this privilege by being one of the main four leads. Abbey isn't so lucky. We rarely get a look into his mind, and when we do, it's him constantly thinking of Paulo, derogatory.
Hmm.
He isn't allowed anything that doesn't involve his fraying relationship with Daisy or his hatred for Paulo. Yeah, he's
Exactly.
a drama
Yes.
puppet. They're all drama puppets, bro.
No, he's a plot device. I t- I'm sure I've talked about this before, but yeah, that's what I mean by him being pigeonholed. His entire thing and what the real like the character assassination of Abby is, because yeah, he ended up like this whole thing is now just it, and it's not just a problem with Abby, it's a problem with other characters, and we can actually bring this back to what I was saying about whenever I say that Sandy's a plot device, because that's really all she is. She doesn't exist anything is at all outside of just being her outside of her relationship with Mike. Like there's maybe some stuff like, oh yeah, she does this work, but that work is so that but that work impedes on her relationship with Mike. She does school because it'd be kind of illegal if she didn't. She would, and all this jazz. The same way with Abby, and Abby should have has more stuff going on with him. But the problem is that all that boils that at this point from the volume 6, it just becomes a point of it just boils down to I'm upset about my relationship with Daisy. I'm upset about, and then once he stopped having that relationship with Daisy, then it's like, oh, what's the other big thing with Paolo or with Abby? And it's, oh, he hates Paolo. He hates bullying. That's his character, and that's all his character is. That's all he needs to be. That's all he's going to be, and it's so fucking lame. It's why we had to have like 4 different chapters where Abby and Paolo talk or have a blow up and then somewhat reconcile, and it's still wishy-washy even at the end because there's no reason else. If you it's the main issue with wanting to keep up the drama that if you what are you doing?
Sorry.
um No, I'm kind of distracted. I could see. Oh wait, no, this is like. Oh, what the hell? Why isn't my stream like way before? I just thought I saw you like talking to someone off screen. I think my stream was just behind. But but yeah, it's the same problem. It's just like Abby. If you, it's the reason why we haven't really seen a resolution. Maybe that happens in like one of the recent chapters
The
I haven't read.
resolution between Abby and Paulo? Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
got
mean
that.
they may.
They
Yeah,
they're
but
both
the
their mommies. They have mommy issues, so they're friends
yeah,
now. And they're
but
kind of friends in New Year's resolution.
yeah, but it's like that. I think there's a fear within Tashi, or at least with in that, and why it and it's why it took so long for that to get to that. It's that a character can't exist if a character does not have conflict. They have no purpose. They have no. They have nothing to give or contribute to the story. You know,
That's not
they
true.
have. Why do you think they gave David this idea? Why do you think they made David a ship sailor?
Because he's got
Because
nothing to
he
really do. He has no conflict with anyone.
exactly, and Stacy, they had to force her into like they had to do the commission chapter, and beyond that, and they gave her stipulations. She's now like in the she's now in like the gaming group, but she's still barely there because she doesn't have real conflict. There's nothing because conflict is interesting, and it's not interesting for Teshi.
Uh,
So I write.
yeah. Paul is certainly didn't seem. What happened to Abby? Wait. Oh, right. What happened to the Abbey who was conflicted about his violence? The one that didn't attack without reason or prompting? The one who fought... Let's see, just feels like comics trying to do too much. Abby and Paula comics should have ended after the mom talk. Yeah. Well, I mean, if we end the conflict, then people will stop reading. So we gotta drag it out. Defiant, were you able to join the Discord? Is that link working? It's been a while since I've like gone through the links. I don't know if the Discord link still works. I think it might. I don't know. Um, let's see. Well, if you liked Paulo and hated Abby, you had no reason to worry about any of that because this comic certainly didn't seem concerned about that. But the answer to all these questions, it seems like a cop-out, but and I've said it so many times, it's because this is the most dramatic thing that could happen. It doesn't matter, it doesn't make any sense. What matters is that it was dramatic and it got people talking. Like the comic book version of clickbait. Abby is literally being regarded by Daisy as an obstacle. Never mind that Paula was the one deliberately ignoring her and making her apologize for some reason. Abby is a block keeping them from being friends, so I guess it would have been harder to so easily write him off if it were given a lick of perspective from him before this happened. I don't remember scrolling all the way back up to find where I said it, but I think I have laid out enough to reiterate my conclusion from the start. At this point, Abbey exists for the sake of the other characters, particularly Daisy and especially Paulo, and that is his character death, to be reduced to a thing, an object, an obstacle, rather than a character like everyone else. That is every character that is not the main four characters. It is every single character in this story. It's like the main four characters are a black hole that just sucks everything towards them and consumes all lights. Nothing but darkness. Nothing but spaghettification. So I finally reached my point. Guest of Honor was an unearned death blow to Abbey. Abbey, as we knew him, is never the same, and it was because of a series of deliberate choices that contradict the text itself. This is the entire comic, dude. But you can't say that because then you get banned. You can't point out that there are a lot of actual objective writing issues with the comic. But then it's like, well, I think Teshi knows this, and she's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter because this is dramatic. And that's the point of all of this, right? So is it a problem because we're missing the point? Or is it still a problem? And that's the question. What do you think, Amazil? Hello? I think Amazil exploded. All right, what does chat think? Should we forgive all of these idiosyncrasies and this contradiction because that isn't the point of the story? The point of the story is to be dramatic, or I know it is possible for the story to be dramatic but also not have these contradictions. But if that's not the point of the story, then does it really matter? Should we just accept it for what it is? I guess it really depends on the person. And I've come to the point where I just accept it. And I know I've made videos. Like I said, I'm a hypocrite, you know. Well, no, I even say in the video about date night, the reason this happened is because Teshi said this is the most dramatic thing that could happen. But it's not the way you should write the story, but also it's not my story to tell. So, is that a cop-out answer? The moral conundrums of this, the metatextual narrative, the ludo dissonance, other large film bro words. Where is Amazil? I think somebody might have walked into his room and then he had to mute. Well, no, he didn't mute. He's maybe he muted his microphone. He's not muted on. He's not muted on Discord. Well, I still gotta record a video for next month, guys. I guess we're gonna give it a few minutes to see what's happening. But I guess since we're giving it a few minutes, let's talk about something that isn't this for a second. So I have been working very diligently over the last few days, and will continue to work diligently on a 3D conversion for Confrontation. It has taken some time, but I am getting there, and I have figured out the logistical issues, at least for Confrontation itself. I'm sure that Silver Shore is also gonna, have new logistical issues. But let me show you guys a little bit what I'm talking about here. Let's see. Let me find one of the images that looks really good.
I'm back.
Oh, hello, welcome back.
What are we on now?
Oh no, I was just talking about, so the question I posed to chat and to you, but you weren't there, is should we, so Teshi has to know that these are things that were not set up. She has to know that they're contradictory. So it's not our story to tell. We can say, well, the story should do this, but the point of the story is to be super dramatic, and it's not our story to tell. So should we accept the story as that, despite or at least believing that Teshi understands these flaws and it doesn't matter, or should we ask for more? That's what you always say. You should ask for more.
Yes. I always believe that you should hold this comic to the standard that it sets for itself. I don't think that it's outrageous or too much to ask that Teshi, if she's going to tackle these themes, she's going to try to do all this artsy fartsy shit and try to be all dramatic, to ask that she does it in a better way. I've said it thousands of times. Execution. It's exa-fucking-cution, because that kills this comic and kills these concepts. Because it loves its high concept fucking drama. It loves its complex, nuanced bullshit. It loves to get into trauma, but it doesn't fucking handle it properly. And what I didn't get to say about like the Abbey and therapy thing is that the problem with that, it's, yeah, if you want to say that therapy doesn't work, if you want to be like, and there's no sure thing, if you want to do that, you have to give a fucking answer. There has to be some alternative. You have to give these fuckers hope. You have to give us something. Otherwise, what's the point? What is the help? Where is the help? If it's not this, then what is it? Is it friends because that's not fucking working? Is it a good fucking is it a support group? Where is it? How do they fucking get through this? And if you're not going to go through the therapy way, if you're going to say that, if you want to make the point that therapy isn't perfect and therapy doesn't help, then how are you going to make these characters work? How are they supposed to develop? What is the alternative, and how are you going to fucking do this? And it's the problem that arises from this, and why I think that yeah, we shouldn't. Fuck, I'm trying to remember what the damn original question was. Is it supposed to?
All right, the original question is, so we can sit here and complain about that none of this makes sense because this is not what Teshi set up till we're blue in the face, and the cows come home. But if the point of the story is to just be as over dramatic as possible, then are we missing the point? Is Teshi, like, it's Teshi's story to tell. We can sit here and say, well, you should do it this way because this makes more sense, or you shouldn't do this because this doesn't make sense to what you already set up. But Teshi probably understands that these are issues. But it doesn't matter that this is an issue because that's not the story she wants to tell. She wants to tell a super dramatic story. So,
Okay, if that,
yeah.
yeah. So, but that's the problem, is that you can make a super dramatic, if your purpose is to write a super dramatic story like this, then you're just being destructive. This is just a destructive story, and this is just a sob story. That's all this is. This is crying for the sake of feeling something, and in which case, it's why I always tell people that I don't. That's why I don't recommend Bittersweet Candy Bowl to anyone getting into it. That's why I tell the boys, don't fucking read this. I am only showing you what I want to show you, because the fact is that because if this is the story that Teshi wants to share, where nothing, where yeah, where we don't have to give resolution to these characters, where they don't have to grow, they don't have to do this. We want to be overly dramatic. We want to push these boundaries. We want to go into this stuff. Okay, then we shouldn't read this. No one should fucking read this, because all this is, and it's, I don't. I'm gonna this. I think I told. Yeah, It's the same thing. It's the same criticism that I pointed to in Burnt Bridges, and Eternal Flame, and December, and all these things, is that it's just emotional manipulation. It is just trying to squeeze as much emotion out of you to get you to think, to keep you interested, and
But isn't
it
that the
has no
point?
substance.
But that's the point of that's the story she wants to tell.
If that's the point,
And
yeah,
it
if
probably
that's the
has
point,
substance in her mind. It probably does mean something. And she has somewhat talked about the themes that she wants to get across, and I can kind of somewhat see the themes that she's talking about.
yeah, yeah, sure, but, um, but it's still destructive. If you want to just to fucking make people cry and just twist the knife, I fucking talked about this, about how fucking all this is just twisting the knife, and Teshi can't help but go for the low blow, go for the backstab, and just gut your audience at every single fucking turn. Eventually, you said it perfectly. It's exhausting. It's just fucking exhausting. And there's no reason to fucking read it. If that's the product that you want to put out, Teshi, then you are making fucking shit. That is just evil. That is just emotional
I
manipulation
don't think
at
she's
that
trying to
point.
be evil. I think she just
But
thought this
that's
could
what
be a
it
fun
is.
story to
That's
tell.
just what it is. To be fucking to make drama is, or maybe not even, okay, not even evil, but it's fucking slop. It is just emotional fucking slop. What train? It's like those fucking. It's like when people think of when they hear, like not Grammys, but fucking Oscar movies, Oscar bait.
Oh
It's
yeah.
Oscar bait. You're just trying to be emotional for the sake of emotional so that you can get a fucking award and feel redeemed in some way. Then try to say something grander, but you're really fucking not. What you're really doing is just wasting everyone's fucking time.
But the thing is, it's entertainment, right? And as long as it's entertained someone, it's done its job. It
And
could be
for the sake
slop.
of
And you
entertainment,
know what? Despicable Me 4, the biggest piece of shit movie I think I've ever seen in my life, is gonna make like $1 billion in the box office. It's entertainment. It entertained people. Like, that's all that. I mean, I'm not saying it should be the only thing that matters, but people are clearly entertained by what's happening, even if some people legitimately think this comic has no issues, that it is perfect the way that it is, and that's fine. People are gonna engage with it in different ways. Um, but I mean, it's just
Defiant
yeah.
says, I feel like if she wanted to make it as dramatic as possible with no real consistency, then she shouldn't have gone into serious topics like suicide and etc. Because
That's
now the
true.
characters have reasons they're the way they are / are acting, but she can't keep it consistent. That's pretty right. Yeah.
I mean, that's
The
true.
but here's the thing though, like I don't even say, and it's like what Rob said about some people believe that there's nothing wrong with it. The people that believe that there's nothing wrong with it say that because it loops back into what I said about this comic is enabling people who are, and this is where I think the evilness comes from, or the insidiousness of this comic comes from,
I don't
is
think
because it's enabling people who have gone through like these similar situations because they will see themselves in these characters. They can rationalize their actions even though their actions are uh, are just wrong and are not a good way of acting. In their minds, it's consistent with what the reality of people in a fucked up
it's
situation would
confirmation
probably do.
bias.
Exactly.
But
And
it's like she can't like she's not forcing people to feel that way about her characters. Like she can't
no,
forcibly
but it's the
change.
only. But it I'm saying it's enabling it because again, it's only those people. It's only those people who have that experience who can relate to it. If you wanted to mitigate that, you can mitigate that. You can, and you can even mitigate that while still touching on those subjects by taking it more seriously, by not being as dramatic and trying to fucking handle these situations with proper nuance and being able to have characters talk it out and understand, being able to give that perspective so that we can better, so that people who, so that you don't have to be in that mental state. You don't have to have experienced these things in order to understand what is going on and why these characters are doing what they are doing.
And by the way, I just want to point out there's nothing wrong with like identifying or understanding a character. The issue is identifying with them so hard that you feel personally attacked when someone else doesn't like that character.
Well, the thing is, like, I said, and I'm gonna I reiterate, the problem with that is that I can't blame them for attaching themselves to the characters because they're the only ones who can. And as you go, if you keep going on, going pushing it further and pushing it further, you're only going to get, you have, the only people who will relate to these characters are those that are pushed further into the extremes. And if you see yourselves into these like, the way that I put it is, it's like you're in a maze, right? Mental illness is a fucking, it is it is a mental maze. You are trapped in that maze and you don't know where it is. You don't know where you are, you don't know how long it is. For some people, they're stuck in that maze for a few years. Maybe they could be in it for a week and they figure it out. They get out of there. They get help and they find their way out. Some people are stuck in there forever. Some people, it'll take you decades. For some people, they don't know. And some people, they never get out. And this comic, what this comic is another is when you see someone else in that maze. You see this person in this maze and you feel good. You feel better because you're like, oh, thank fuck, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this stupid fucking maze, and they can help. This person's been in this maze for much longer than I have. Maybe they can help me get out. And that's the problem.
Yeah, no,
That's the is that that's what makes me so triggered about this fucking comic is that there's people who look at this and they want to think and they believe that there's something that this person in this maze can help me get out.
yeah, but that's
But she
Teshi.
doesn't. She can't figure it out. She doesn't know. She's just as lost as you, and you're two blind people
Yeah,
trying
no,
to get out of a maze.
but Teshi can't. What is she gonna do? figure out every single person with a mental disability reading her comic and tell them not to read it?
She doesn't have to. She just has to give an option. She just has to give them hope. Give us a reason. It's what January is. It's one option. It's one possibility.
Yeah, but the
of
story
one
isn't
escape.
done yet.
January is.
No,
January...
I mean BCB is not done yet. She could still do that.
Oh, sure. And it would probably still be bullshit somehow. But here's the thing. And it's why I fucking rushed into January, and it had to be done then. Because we didn't know. You don't know how long that is. How long are you willing to wait in that fucking maze?
Like, I'm
How
not in the
long
maze.
can other people wait in
and
there?
people that are in the maze don't realize they're in the maze.
But that's the fucking... Some things are. Though, you don't think that people that are fucking relating and projecting themselves onto Lucy don't understand that maybe there is something wrong, that they aren't holding hope, that they aren't holding hope because they see themselves in Lucy and they want to see her progress, they want to see her become better because they want to see themselves become better, even if they don't put that connection together.
I understand it, but you can't blame Teshi for people like that.
I'm not blaming her for the people. I'm blaming her for not giving them a fucking out. For not giving them anything. Give them something. Give them something to fucking believe in.
So is she
Give us a
supposed to
character
rewrite
that
the
grows.
entire story for a handful of people?
It doesn't have to. It doesn't have. It's not for a handful of people. Everyone would have fucking liked to see Abbey be growth. Who wouldn't want to see these characters become better? Any of these fucking characters become better. Any of them just become a fucking happy person.
Augustus, I can combat all of this by saying Augustus has become a legitimately better person by even now. So it's not every character, it's just the main ones that suck. And honestly, Daisy doesn't really have any issues going on with her. Like, she kind of pulled herself out of that, you know, not really, but Teshi doesn't touch on it a whole lot. Her insecurity about her looks, right? I guess she still feels that way. She's jealous of Tess and everybody.
But that's not the bit. For Augustus, I can be okay that, but for Daisy, that's a bit of a stretch, because the main problem is that when you touch on these big concepts, these big overdramatic, big traumatic moments, you have to fucking it's why people harp on a lot of suicide stories, and they feel like it's disrespectful because they need to give there's no other out. Like,
13 reasons why.
What are they supposed to do when they do this? How is this supposed to help? How can they climb out of this hole that they've dug themselves into?
No, I mean, I agree Teshi should show more of that, right? But that just goes back to, at the very least you could say it's negligence, right? Or at the very most, I don't think she's trying to be malicious with it. But I get what you're saying. More characters need to have a positive character growth because a lot of them just don't. And the ones that do are barely in the comic. Like Rachel, she's kind of had a positive growth. She's like, you know what? Paulo's having issues. I'm not going to get involved this time. I'm going to go off and be happy because I don't want to get emotionally involved with this guy that is constantly kind of stabbed me in the back. Which I know you haven't read New Year's Resolution, but that's what happens in that chapter, right? It's like a page. But you get what's happening with that. Let's see. Maybe it would have been done better if she kept it like it was before, a day by day in the life of these characters in high school. She could change what happens each day without keeping a long-term story. No, I totally agree with that. I think a lot of people get hooked because the story starts out that way, and then it slowly turns into something that it isn't. That's one of the things that the person who did the Bad Webcomics Wiki review argued about, because and I was like, yeah, a lot of early adopters, early readers probably did feel a slap in the face when the story started changing because it wasn't the story they fell in love with. I think that's why a lot of people, including you, Amazil, got disillusioned or fell out of love with it because it tried to be more. And I can't hate Teshi for trying to expand, right? She probably, as she got older, it was probably harder to write that relatable day in the life kind of thing because she had more life experiences and she wanted to write about that, but she didn't necessarily have the ability to execute it in the way that it probably should have been. But she's really good at doing like a day in the life kind of cutesy fun stories. I think that's why the BCIs work so well, because those are kind of forced to be that, right? That's an issue with maturity, not the author. If you relate to a character and someone doesn't like them, that's on you to not be offended, but that's on you to not be offended, but not the author's fault. But the author's fault. My favorite character is Augustus because he actually develops and learns from his mistakes. He has definitely become a better person despite his past, unlike Abbey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
like that. Yeah, I like Augustus.
but the issue is that Teshi isn't ready to finish the comic. It's not ready to wrap up. Like I feel like it kind of is because she's pushing the Paulo and Daisy thing together a little bit. Even though she's not, she's like doing this with Paulo and Daisy right now, because I don't know if she can't decide when she wants the comic to end, so she doesn't want to kind of finalize that and then not know what to do with those two. Even though you could just write them being in a relationship. Show us the trials and tribulations of that. Like, it's not like people get in a relationship and nothing bad ever happens again. So, like,
I
what?
like it goes into something that, or it touches on a criticism that I once heard from a friend when I shot up the concept of January, which because I promoted because I'm like, let's make it where where we're solving the drama. There's nothing else going on, and we're not going to we're not going to try and get more out of it. We're not trying to add more like bullshit concept conflict. Um, and they said that they would have. They said that a story that doesn't have any conflict is boring, and I feel like it's just a reductive way of looking at it at storytelling, because because you're right, you definitely can just make a story. There's nothing wrong with having a story where it's not like it doesn't have all these conflicts. You can have resolution and make an interesting story. It doesn't even have to be like a slice of life. You can just I'd rather have it where it's focused, because the problem with like the recent chapters I've found, or at least the recent chapters that I've covered, maybe not necessarily like Burnt Bridges. Burnt Bridges is probably the only one where it actually like leapt off of like the previous one, but I've noticed a pattern where, especially in Volume 7 or so, a lot of the chapters in Volume 7, it's a little scattered. It's like every 3 chapters or so, we finally get back to whatever the main point is. There's a lack of focus on main what the main like conflict is. It's and I think this is what really contributed to it becoming a lot it feeling worse to read after a while, because it's just like because it seems more, because there's so many conflicts, because there's so many like big drama bombs like going on, and it's you're getting pulled in different directions. Where are you supposed to focus on? Oh, now we have to focus on Paolo and Abby. Oh, now we have to focus on Mike and Lucy. Oh, now we have to focus on Abby and stuff. And we have to work. No, now we're talking about Rachel. All that, and it's just it's just so scattered almost. It's trying to do too much, and because it's set up it sets so much stuff up that it doesn't commit to fully resolving any one of them. And that's why we see like these moments like Guest of Honor, where we were supposed to remember like, oh, this was actually set up like long ago. Remember this thing? Or not even Ghost of Honor does that, but like some chapters will do that. Like, or I think or that like Golden Hour does that, like with all the flashbacks and all that jazz. It's like, oh, don't you understand? Like all this stuff that happened before. We set this up like a while ago, except that no one remembers that because you well also after that time you were also setting up this thing and this thing and this thing and that thing, and also at the meantime there was also this big thing that was happening at the same time. It was the main problem that I had with it was another problem that I had with like December because that did that to the most extreme degree where it's like, hey, yeah, yeah, of course Mike's gonna blow up at her. Don't you remember, like, all the times that she was, like, being mean to him? Yeah, I remember that. That was, like, a year ago. And in between that time and now, there was also, we also got to see a lot of Lucy, like, being isolating herself, trying to give him space, and trying to do what she thought was the right thing. And Mike not really changing, still being a little piss baby and trying to give her the cold shoulder. Her, it's it's just too scattered. It needs to focus on on at least one big problem and try to like give us that introspective. If it wants to like kick it into high gear and focus on like big overly dramatic moments, then it needs to focus on those overly dramatic plot points. It needs to go off of them. I think like I haven't read I haven't read anything past Double Down, so I can't speak too much on it, but at least from Eternal Flame, the transition from Eternal Flame to Burnt Bridges to Double Down, it at least does feel like what happened in Eternal Flame has carryover. We're seeing like we're focusing in on Mike and Lucy working their way through what just happened in that one chapter, and maybe we can get somewhere. Actually, no, Double Down doesn't really do that. Double Down is also very scattered brain. Okay, here's a since Rob's not here, I'm gonna give you guys
I am
a
here.
sneak. Oh, you're
Yeah, no,
not
I
on the
was listening
screen.
the whole time, by the way. I
Oh,
just
I
said a
get.
step away, and then yeah,
Ah,
it's all good,
but
but I was listening.
yeah, but yeah, like the problem I have with like Double Down is because Double Down is kind of a great like microcosm of this of this problem. Because if you read Double Down, there's like three things happening in that. That chapter could have been divided into threes, and it would have been just fine. Like three 15-page chapters, and it'd be great. It'd be just fine. Fine. Because instead, you have it focusing on Mike at first, and then it goes next to Lucy for a little bit, and then it goes back to Mike, and then it focuses on Lucy, and then it hints at us with Augustus, and then it leaps back over to Mike Mike and Daisy, and then it leaps over back to Lucy and Paolo, and then Paolo and Mike, and it's too scattered. It's too much going on for you to really process and digest what the main point is. I it it's what I have a problem with like the fact that it's also like 62 pages. Like that is just redonkulous.
Wait,
It does
what are
not
we
need to
talking
be
about? Double
that
Down?
much. Yeah, I'm talking about Double Down and how it should have been. It has the same. It follows the same issue of like the comic as a whole, and that it has a lack of focus. Like it keeps bumping around like different characters, different conflicts, and also but also dropping like these dramatic nukes on people, and that gave big changes to like give big impact to these different characters. But you don't have time to really register or digest any of it because there's also like 10 other different big moments. And what's the really big moment that you're supposed to focus on? What's the big thing? It's just the ending bit. So if it's just the ending bit, if it's just that dramatic moment, then this chapter really could have just been 10 pages long, actually. Oh, also it does the hard R at the end. So that's fucking great.
Something
That's really
in
nice.
the way. Someone said they fucking.
Yeah, they sure are.
I think I think most people that read this comic that aren't banned identify with Lucy and like really like throw themselves into that character. But the hard R indeed. But I think we're gonna wrap it up because it's almost been 3 hours, and I gotta start dinner. I gotta deal with this toilet. This toilet's clogged because people think that you can flush non-flushable wet wipes down the toilet and it keeps clogging up, and they keep doing it, and I don't know why they keep doing it.
Flushable wet wipes are not flushable
Yeah. Well, the package doesn't even say that it is,
either.
but I don't even know if that's the case. But I gotta deal with this. So anyway, uh, make sure you guys join the Discord, and this was good. It's let me get that out there. Yeah. What?
Oh, nothing.
Thank you for the stream. It was nice. Yeah, no, we're gonna be back in another 2 weeks. Also, keep your ear to the ground. I mean, I'm putting out content every week, guys. I'm just throwing it out there.
I do wish that you'd use a different Sam. Like that's an old
This
one.
was the only Sam I had. All right.
What do you mean? I thought I gave you like the whole sheets.
That was like 2 years ago, dude. That shit's so buried. I mean, you can give me another Sam, and I'll try to make some changes maybe, but I can't guarantee anything. I already made all the thumbnails. There's nothing wrong with this Sam. Look at Sam's all chill and laid back and.
No, that's snark. That's just snark.
Well, aren't you being? You're not being snarky. That's not what I mean. But I don't know. I didn't. I just thought that was like, I don't know. It felt like it fit it to me. But if you want me to change, if you really want me to change it, I can change it. Amazil went nuts. Yeah, look, that's why I brought him on, because he's really good at filling out time. But he also has a lot of great insight too.
Look, this comic is my pressure point. Okay, I have to relieve it every few years, otherwise I get an aneurysm.
Yeah, this is like he's like the Winter Soldier, and this comic is the thing that makes him do the Winter Soldier stuff. You say.
Also, I am very passionate and very invested in suicide prevention and mental health. Like, I really take that seriously, and you kids should fucking seek help, as the Germans say.
Wait. Oh, I get it. Oh, that's a spicy one.
Joke.
That's a spicy one.
I fucking made that joke in one of the fucking rants, and no one fucking got it, and I'm so sad.
It's a little bit of a stretch, but
love it.
No one would ever want to think that Amazil would make a spicy joke. But next week we're gonna start. I'm gonna have a video up reading ad libitum, possibly the greatest BCB fic ever written. Because it's Paulo X Sue, and I'm just gonna read every what you got something to say?
I think they deserve better.
No. They are the better. They're the best. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I already made videos about this, but anyway.
Morty.
Morty, you gotta ship the cats, Morty. Alright, I'm ending the stream. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good day. We'll see ya.